Just no picture? Okay. All right, today is July 24th, 2017. I'd like to call to order the water and sewer meeting. I'd like to go ahead and read the warrants.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following warrants as read. KP Law for legal services, $741.
Oh, sorry, real quick. Are we doing the public forum before the warrants?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what.
Let me just, sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there anybody here for a public forum? No? All right, continue. Sorry, I thought we were
It's
doing it,
okay,
I
it's
thought we were
okay.
doing it afterwards. So.
No problem. All right, so I make a motion to approve the following warrants as read. KP Law, legal services for the brewery, $741. Bigelow Electric, generator replacement, $388.95. Town of Charlton, electricity, $5,892.58. Yourmembership.com for job posting, and that was $165. Associate Electromechanics for the Burlingame Pump Station, $21,556.45. BizTech Printing, $52. LaForte Electric, $1,120, and Rico Copier, $141.30.
I'll second the motion.
Do those need signatures or?
Discussion?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Discussion?
Yeah.
On the Copeland and Page law review, is that a refundable expense from the brewery of the $741?
I don't think so. It's addressing the agreement and the SOP
Yeah.
that we're gonna have with them. It's beyond me as to whether we know for billings, for approval of prints and things like that, but
Okay, okay.
We'll just start with the warrants. That's it. Do you want us to sign them, or is that it, or is that?
I thought we had to make, second, well, there's a
Still under
second and a
discussion.
vote.
Motion, a second, we've had discussion.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the?
Yeah, I do have an issue with, I want to have a discussion on the $21,000 to, what was that, ABT or whatever?
Burlingame, the
Yeah, the pump.
Associate Electrical
Right.
Mechanic, AEM.
Right. Maybe I should do it this way. Let's vote all these in. Let's have a vote on this. I don't have any question about whether or not we're going to pay it. So disregard any questions I have on the outstanding warrants.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously.
Okay,
Before we go any further, I've got either a comment or a question.
Sure.
Or motion, actually, motion. I'd like to make a motion for reorganization.
I'll second it for discussion.
And the reason why is it goes back to this $21,556. As you may recall, that was for the Burlingame Road pump. Take one of those to the members, please. And a little bit of history here is that that pump was taken out of service on, as you can see on the first page here, on May 4th, 2017. And it was taken out by Associates Electromagnetics. And then you see the next page from Associated Electromechanics, mechanics. And that's the quote. And that quote came in on I believe it was the 12th of May. And then you can see on the 17th of May, that was customer's approval signature, I believe that's your signature, Steve, on the 17th. And then on the following page is an email that our chairman, Alex, had sent to me, to where he stated that he authorized the repair of the pump. So that authorization of the pump came May 17th, 2017. And the thing that's, well, as chairman, and again, Paul has been a chairman, I've been a chairman, is, look, none of us are perfect, but when it comes time to letting everybody know what's going on, we had a meeting May 8th, which was 4 days after that, and our administrator gave us a report that didn't include anything about that pump, which I know was only 4 days ago. So maybe that's certainly an oversight. On June 5th, which was a month later, this was after the pump was taken out, sent to, I believe it's Springfield, is where these people are located. And then the approval to do the $21,000 repair had already been approved now for some close to 4 weeks. That June 5th, in the administrator's report, there was no mention of the pump. No mention that the pump $21,000 expense was approved. We go to our June 19th meeting, and we look at the administrator's report. Now it's close to 6 weeks after this thing was taken out, and 5 weeks after it was approved. And there we begin the discussion about the Burlingame pump. And then I know that Lemansky said that he would like to look harder at the budget to convert these over before we take a vote. We had no vote on the $21,000. Then we go, and then on the 19th, the same meeting, we again talked about the pumps, and nobody mentioned the fact that these things had already been approved and it was already in the works. So for that reason, I think we need to have a reorganization, and what I'd like to do is nominate Gabe Berthium as our new chairman.
I'll second that. We're still in the middle of you voted to reorganize. And we haven't,
Second it for discussion.
yeah, I second it for discussion. We
Okay.
haven't finished the vote on that part yet, I think.
Okay, well, at least this was the
This is all
discussion,
part of it. so-
unless there's more discussion. I think what I handed out in print here is pretty clear what happened. And I can understand that if there's a situation and things arise, that action needs to be taken. But, you know, the left hand's got to know what the right hand is doing. And I think for this to go on, and this is the travesty here. The travesty is for it to go on for almost 60 days before any other commissioners knew that the pump was already, it was already committed to the $21,000 worth of repairs.
All right, well, there's a motion and a second to reorganize. Let's take that vote, see if that holds. All right, all those in favor of reorganizing?
Aye.
Aye.
We're going to finish the votes?
Nay.
Okay. I make a motion that Gabe Berthium be the chairman of the Water and Sewer.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jen?
Nay.
All right.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion as far as a secretary for doing total new,
Do them in order.
a new reorganization. I'd like to move that Paul Gagnon be the new secretary.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Should we list it just all and do one motion?
No.
No, one at a time, yeah.
Separately.
Again, because really, we basically have three offices, I guess, which would be
Chair, vice chair.
chair, vice chair, and clerk.
Clerk.
So I have a motion and a second.
Motion, I guess I.
Any discussion on it?
Yes, I'd like to know what that entails. What the secretary position would entail
I said-
and the reason why.
If I said secretary, I meant to say clerk.
Okay,
Okay, correct.
and any particular reason why?
Just for the simple reason is that we're starting with a new slate. We'll be discussing having a new slate. Let's just do the whole slate.
So then if he's vice chair, he's also gonna be clerk? Is
No,
that-
There was
Okay,
no motion for vice chair.
there's no
yet.
motion for vice chair as of yet.
okay, but I guess, I don't feel comfortable voting on that until I know what the proposed clerk position would be.
What you're doing exactly right now, that's a clerk's position.
Right, and I guess I would have to ask that the vote be postponed until we also talk about who you would like to recommend for clerk and bring it up.
I
We've
thought-
already asked Paul to,
I thought I made a motion to
Motion was made, Paul.
to move that Mr. Gagnon be clerk,
okay.
and then you second it.
Right, because I
Okay.
feel that every motion needs to have a discussion. I
Sure.
feel that's common courtesy to the board.
Exactly.
So, I'm fine, discussion is done.
Right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay,
Nay.
And I'd like to make a motion that Mr. Lemansky be vice chair. He hasn't held office for quite a long time, and I think since he put so much time into this position, that I think he should be vice chair. That's the motion.
Got a motion and a second?
Who seconded
Did anybody second it?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 nay.
Nay.
Motion passes, 3-2. Okay.
Do we have a starting date or time for this next meeting, or?
You're in it. I think you're in it. That's it.
Do you want to,
This all taking effect one.
I'd say immediately.
Okay.
all right. Is that everything on the files? Is that all the warrants, Steve?
Yes.
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 All right, so motions, warrants, good. All right, Steve, you're up. Administrators report?
Thank you.
Minutes,
Oh, yeah, minutes.
we didn't go over the minutes after I
That's what I was
was,
just asking, if there was
Starting-
anything else.
Starting,
oh, I thought you said warrants, I apologize.
starting
No
today,
problem.
I wasn't listening, I was signing stuff. These are them. How many do we have here? We have 3 signatures. Do we have 3 warrants? I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrants of November 21st, 2016, the minutes, rather. I got a
Second.
I think these all came through on our emails.
Is he here?
I abstain.
31. So we got a motion and a second. All those in
I say
favor?
Paul?
What date was it again, Paul?
November 21st, 2016. Present was Spiewak, Gagnon, Lemansky, Ronlin, Pecos. So we had,
Let's go back 6 months.
we had
Was it
3
Hager
commissioners.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Yep, 3 commissioners.
Was I there?
No, you were not there.
So you two can sign off on it, right?
Yes.
Do you wanna keep these?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I believe that passes because. you were the
Right, so
only two
only
present.
2 of us, that's a majority of who's present.
Yep.
Present at that time. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of June 19th, 2017.
See, I'll second that.
Who was present? Everybody present?
I was not, I abstained.
Okay.
It was, again, it was Mackenzie, Berthium, Gagnon, Lemansky.
Okay, yep, we get enough. We get a motion and a second. All those to approve the minutes of, what was it?
June 19th.
June 19th?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimously.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 10th, 2017. Present were Gabe, Jen, Paul, and Rob.
Thanks. Got a motion and a second? It's June 19th?
That was July
July 10th.
10th.
July 10th.
Do we have a second? Rob, did you second that?
I think Alex did, didn't he? Or was it Jen?
I didn't second it
Okay,
yet.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
This one's Alex's.
To approve.
No, he doesn't need to sign that.
The minutes of June 19th?
That's what we just took a vote on, right?
Yep.
June 19th.
Aye, yeah.
This is July
June-
10th.
July-
This is
July 10th.
July 10th on this one.
July 10th.
I'm abstaining.
Paul and Alex.
Did we take a vote?
2 ayes so far.
Aye. Yeah.
It's 3.
Aye.
Yeah.
Alex abstained.
Aye.
You get the warrants?
Up to them.
Okay. Moving on, Steve, administrators report?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Meter readings have been completed. Expect to have Town of Southbridge the weeks of 8/11 or 8/18. They didn't know which one. High Court parts have been ordered. We'll schedule repairs once the parts are all in-house. The EQ 2 and 3 tanks have been worked on the past couple of weeks. 2 of the 4 worst have been replaced. We're waiting for the other 2. There was an SSO at Glen Echo Shore, estimates 40 to 50 gallons. It was treated and reported.
If I may interrupt, Steve?
Can I finish, please, sir?
Okay, then we'll go back to it.
Thank you. There have been several questions in about 46 Worcester Road, which is the long yellow building that's down just in front of where 5 Masonic Home Road is. They're looking to move in. We have found no sketches, no connections, so we're gonna have to get in there and do a die check on the system, so we're gonna do that in the next couple of weeks. Beta, Town of Southbridge, Kleinfelder, Town of Charlton, the hydrant testing will be repeated on the 26th of July, which is Wednesday. They're gonna start the process at 7 PM at the Town of Southbridge, the DPW. We have been told that the Town of Southbridge is having the VFDs in. They will be in the week of the 4th, and they're gonna start with the Mass Ave pump station to replace those VFDs. They're hopeful that this will help with the surging events that we've been having in the system. During the meetings, or between meetings, we've sent warrants, minutes, agenda, McClure agreements, the draft purchase and sales agreement for the pump station on 169, a beta update, the matrix, and the MOR. And as of this date, we'll be printing those to bring packages here that will include everything that's been sent. Would also like to set up a workshop for Monday, July 31st, between 7 and 9 at the Town Hall, review and discussion of the sewer rate. Those proposals I expect to be able to send to you gentlemen and ladies the Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Questions, please?
I got one, Steve. A few
Sure.
weeks ago, we had talked about pressure testing the line on Glenmere Road because it was gonna be paved. I think the date was July 10th. Now, I haven't been down there. I don't know if it's ever been paved, but I don't recall that we've done anything either in terms of pressure testing. Can
We
you?
we weren't pressure testing the road. What we were doing is going in and look at the valve covers, the valve boxes, and marking them so that when they reclaim the road, they wouldn't destroy or bury them. So that's what's been done, is those have been identified, the covers have been pulled, burlap has been stuffed into these apparatuses. I think there's 7 of them that they found.
So the road has not been paved yet?
The road is due to be paved, the road has initially been paved now. They're coming back in to finish it on Thursday, I believe. On Thursday, we'll be back to re-identify and show those places that we've marked. So that's what the schedule is right now.
Question on number 4, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Whereabouts on Glen Echo did that happen?
Right at the pump station, sir,
Which pump station?
on Glen Echo Shore, the one at the end of the road.
On Glen Echo Shore, so that'd
Yes.
be, that would be the northwestern part of the lake, so it's the, it would be Shore Road, Glen
Shore
Echo
Road.
Shore Road.
Glen Echo Shore Road, yes.
Okay. And that pump station is probably 150 to 200 feet from the lake?
Yes.
Okay. The, with the number 5, 46 Worcester Road, is this the building that's at the corner of Masonic Home Road and Route 20?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That
And
long yellowish building.
is, so you're investigating it for a lateral, sewer lateral?
Yes.
And so they haven't found one?
Well, this has come up several times in the past, but I guess it's actively being solicited to be purchased, or maybe even has been purchased, and they're looking to connect the sewer. But the past several times we've looked at it, there is nothing in the records that I found, there is nothing on the prints that show a lateral that's available. The potential owner who's made this call, we'll get together with him. They had a pump truck in there for another reason. They did find a toilet. The toilet is located on the back wall, 25 feet from the western end of the building. And they went down in there with some sort of the pump truck that was there went down there with something that got in 8 or 10 feet, but that's as far as they could go.
Just a minute. Paul, wasn't it, at one time, that was a laundromat, wasn't it? I'm going way back.
It was at one time, yeah,
Okay.
prior to 1978.
But was it hooked to the Charlton
I
City
couldn't
system?
tell you, I
Don't
wouldn't
know,
know.
can't find anything.
Okay.
Now, is this, it's been repaved recently then, right there?
Yes, you're right. Well, at the bottom of that ramp coming down 20, going east and west, that stone that they put in there, I don't know exactly where that fits. If, in fact, it comes off on the northwestern corner of the property, that would be, yeah, that would be right in where it was paved, yes, you're right. You're right. If there isn't a lateral that comes in out of 20, which is where our line comes down, because it comes down on the south side of 20, then, yeah, there's an issue.
So
You're right.
is there a manhole there where we can?
There is, there's a
dye test
manhole
it?
that is at the bottom of Masonic Home Road.
That's the closest one then?
Yes.
And you found the toilet, but did you not, you didn't?
I didn't
dye
find the
test
toilet. This is what I was told, Paul.
Oh, okay.
Did they get in touch with the Board of Health, see if there's any Title V's or anything? Because that building's been bought and sold a few times since '95.
Correct, but if I may, that is one piece of property with 2 buildings on it?
I don't know if 5 and that piece of property are one and the same. I don't know. both pieces of property have been sold. I don't know if they've been sold to the same owner or not. I don't know.
Well, if they weren't sold to the same owner, then they would have been divided, because there was one owner
Okay.
6 months ago, or a year ago. And what I do know is, as far as, well, and I think it's relative to sewer too, is, if you've got one piece of property and multiple buildings, you don't come off with multiple laterals. Come up with one lateral.
There's multiple buildings, this would be the building McClure Engineering
Used to
had
be,
been recently located in.
and then the old
So
massage
he
parlor.
might, but he could drain to Masonic Home Road, whereas this other separate building would be hard put to reach that far. I think they'd be
No, it's all
better
down,
to do to the manhole where Steve just mentioned, and,
actually, it's all
Right.
downhill, Paul.
yeah, well, downhill either
Yeah,
way, I guess, yeah.
but it would,
But it'd be two laterals.
if in fact we're sticking with the same rule, is one property, one lateral, then it'd be the burden of the owner of the property to make sure that lateral, A, was installed and inspected and connected to the other lateral by some type of Y with a clean out, and then into the town system.
You know what?
Well, if I'm correct in what I'm saying is, a lateral comes from one house and one building. The minute you put a second building into it, it becomes a sewer extension.
They're new construction, but it's existing prior to all our errors. You know what I'm saying? So it's,
Okay,
Sewer extensions does not have the same meaning as extending a sewer up a street. The sewer is extended to the property, and then once it's in the property, there is no extension, it's servicing the property. Whether it's 68 Brookfield Road with 4 buildings on it and 8 units, but it only has one sewer pipe coming off the property into the town property. And just like that, I believe, what the position should be, is that they need to make sure that they connect it to, if in fact it's one piece of land. If they've already separated it, then that's a whole different story. Because one other thing, because I know the water, I have personal knowledge of this. If you have a water lateral coming into your property and you have multiple buildings, that water lateral goes into one building and there's a meter. And then the Southbridge Water Department pretty much says you're on your own. If you want to service another building with that, then you run a water line from that building to that other building. Then you don't run two separate lines and 2 separate meters on one property. Such as the housing for the elderly. They got one line comes in, they got 1 meter, and then they service 36 units.
well, I think you just do the dye test and we go from there. I mean, perfect example, I had a job the other day. These people in Southbridge thought they were hooked to town sewer. They have a cesspool in their front yard. They've been paying sewer rates for the last 25 years.
Really?
here,
In Southbridge. I couldn't believe it. You know, I don't know, were you still there? It was on, right in 169, right about when you get in, right next to a United Lens. But however it's working, I have no idea. But anyways, long and short, there's a stub, everything, it's not connected. They've been paying for 25 years. So I think, Steve, they just need to do their own reconnaissance, do a dye test, and then, you know, if we get it, great. If we don't, they're gonna have to do some more research, and, you know, they'll have to, you know, call Helgeson or somebody local, you know, and get a camera up there and trace it out and see what you got for components there.
I figured the first place to start was a dye check, so that's what we're gonna do.
So, but I think the onus is gonna be on them. So we can do a dye check and stuff, but we're not gonna, you know, pay for cameras and this and that. The onus is on them.
Agreed.
Correct?
Yeah.
Agreed.
A question on number 6. I thought this testing was supposed to go on like after midnight to when it was quiet time.
7 o'clock was the time I was given, sir.
But weren't we told that it was going to be quiet time? We'll wait for McClure to tell us about that, why it said 7.
What's wrong with 7?
Coming in tonight?
They were trying to get almost no use while they were
It's after
doing this.
peak times.
So,
Item 9, do
Yeah.
I schedule it, not schedule it as a workshop?
So what was that in regards to again?
The sewer rate study that we contracted.
Yep.
There'll be a presentation. I expect, or I was told that
Should be
Wednesday or
available.
Thursday, we'll have a packet that I will distribute to the 5 members and discussion on the 30th.
So you'll distribute that this week?
Wednesday or Thursday, yes.
Okay, and the 31st is when?
Monday, a week from today.
Do you feel that's enough time to review?
My question is, the people who have completed or will have completed this rate study, are they going to be making a presentation?
Yes.
Okay, is that going to be televised?
If it's here, it would be televised, yes.
Okay, it should be.
It's not being televised as the required, if we have rates, we have to advertise it for 2 weeks in the newspaper, and then it has to be, and that is voted on, that process.
Right,
This is
right,
not
right.
that process. This is to educate the 5 of us, 6 of us.
But if we have an opportunity to educate all our ratepayers,
They will be on,
they-
it'll be
then-
on TV.
Then we should try to do that.
Yeah,
So this is essentially gonna be a recommendation
yes, exactly.
according to, is this Beta doing this, or?
No, this is Pioneer, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I remember that now.
The only thing is I think it may be a little quick, when we get the information, and then 4 days later, we're gonna have this dog and pony show, which we need to have. I don't know if we should have it that quick. I think it probably should be a little more time. It's just a thought. Because our meeting in August is scheduled.
August 7th,
The 7th?
yep.
Would that be 2 or 3 weeks?
That would be 4 weeks. He can't make it on the 7th,
So when's our next scheduled meeting
August 7th,
after tonight?
yes. 7th and the 21st are the next 2 scheduled meetings.
So by having this now, we've got 3 meetings in a row. Tonight, the 31st, and the
And then-
7th.
Yes, that'd be 3.
Yeah.
You're right. But that subject matter for that meeting would just strictly be the rate study. That's all, nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. They
Could
give
he
you-
make the 7th?
He can't make the 7th. I
Oh,
talked with him
okay.
today. He's tied up on the 7th.
My only thought is, you get it, we all, we can talk about it briefly, you know what I mean, go over
No, I
some
agree,
stuff.
I agree.
And then when they come, we'll have a little more in-depth, some more questions, and then we can, you know what I mean, really have some information to give back to them.
How about the 14th of August, then that way there? Well, first of all, let's talk about something. Are we under dire straits here that we need to do this immediately? And why I say that is because we're just putting out the bills this week or next week. If we wanted to do a change, we would have time, have a public hearing, change the rates, if we choose to change the rates, and that would be ready to go for our October billing. I think that's the next quarter. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so not that I want to put this thing off any further than we have to, but I just want to make sure that we give it enough we give it enough time so we can fully vet this, so that we feel comfortable with what they're going to present.
I don't see any, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't see any reason why they shouldn't come in, present, and we don't have to make a decision on the spot, and we're just armed with some more information, because it looks like this has been hanging out there for a while, so I don't know. That's my personal opinion. I mean, we've got to move on some things.
So the next following meeting would be the 14th?
No, it would be the 7th and the
7th.
21st.
21st.
Yeah, no, okay. So that would put us, all right. Because that might be stretching it if we go 2 meetings out, 2 or 3, by time.
It's
So
fine.
it would be the
It's fine.
14th, wouldn't it? We're meeting the 7th, so the following week is when we would,
Be the 14th,
Yeah,
and
the
then we meet again on the 21st.
No, but that's, but the whole point too is, not to have 3 consecutive meetings for this.
But either way, we're going to have, we're either going to have them in the
Yeah.
next 3 weeks
Yeah, that's
or
true.
the following 3 weeks, so.
I will most likely not be available on the 14th.
Okay.
All right, let's get it out of the way. The thing is,
Then
you know, it's-
Yeah, let's just go for when you know, let's make a motion. Somebody make a motion for it, or unless we don't need it.
I make a motion, we go along with our administrator's recommendation of July 31st from 7 to 9 at Town Hall, to allow the rate reviewing company to make their presentation
I'll
on the
second
sewer
it.
rates.
Any more discussion?
And this is, well, you're the one who suggested going next week for more time, but now.
Well, yeah, let's get it over with.
Okay, I can go either way, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter
yeah,
to
let's
me,
get it
so.
over with.
All right, get a motion, and I guess a second, so.
All those in favor of July 31st from 7 to 9 at the town hall?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimous. Do you know how long that report is, Steve? Any inclination, or is it, 30 pages? Is
No,
it
no, no,
five?
no,
Is
no,
it-
no. From what I've seen, I'm gonna say between 7 and 10 pages.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other discussion with Steve and his administrative report? Pretty good. Okay, moving on to Keith. Veolia is up.
Good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
This is the monthly report for the month of June at the wastewater treatment facility, pump stations, and collection systems. For health and safety, there were no safety accidents or incidents. The monthly safety checklist was completed, and the monthly training for operators was completed in June. In regards to compliance, there were no exceedances on the NPDES permit, and the plant performance sheet is attached, and the second quarterly toxicity results were received. We passed. We are in compliance with toxicity. Operation and maintenance activities. The weekly and monthly preventative maintenance work orders were completed. The weekly generator full load exercise were completed at the treatment plant, no issues. EQ tank number 2, the level sensor was replaced, it had failed. The biofilter for odor control blew a fuse. And during the troubleshooting, the insulation on the hot lead was chafed on the incoming conduit, which grounded it out, causing the fuse to blow. New wires had to be pulled from the local disconnect to the motor. A new effluent pH and sensor installed to optimize the sodium hydroxide chemical feed system. This chemical feed system controls the pH of the effluent to meet the NPDES permit parameters of 6.5 to 8.3. The annual servicing and inspection of the main generator at the treatment plant was completed. The fan and alternator belts had to be replaced along with the block heater hoses and the batteries. Under pump station activities, all the pump station alarms were tested and completed. Pump station weekly full generator loads were tested and completed. Also, the annual servicing and inspection of the pump station generators was completed. During the servicing of the generators at Vine Street Pump Station, during the inspection, they found part of the transfer switch handle on the actuator had broken off. The transfer switch was still operational if there was an actual power outage. The part was replaced and the transfer switch was tested and put back into normal operations. The vacuum assist system on pump number 2 had debris blocking the chamber. This was preventing the pump from operating correctly. The debris was removed and the pump tested 100% back online. Also at Vine Street, received a high-low level alarm, which was caused by grease in the wet well. The grease in the wet well was vacked out and it resolved the alarm issues. During the thunderstorm on June 27th, pump stations 2, 8, 9, and 11 had experienced power outages. Power was restored and there was no issues. Burlingame Pump Station received 2 low-level alarms, cleaned the grease off of the floats, which was preventing the normal operations of the float switches. The MTAs were sampled on June 4th and June 18th. Under collection system activities, June 1st, there was a grinder pump call at 128 Sunset Drive. There was an electrical control issue in the system, it had to be upgraded. 6:15, grinder pump call, 45 Hollywood Drive. Constant alarms with the electrical issue in the system was upgraded. Excuse me. On June 20th, received a call from the Charlton Police Department. A tractor trailer ran over a sewer manhole on the eastbound side of Route 20, causing the cover to come off of the ring, and that holds the cover in place. The road had been ground down for repaving, leaving the sewer cover raised and exposed. The cover was put back on, then covered with coal patch and a traffic barrel placed on it for the night, as the sewer ring and cover were being replaced the next morning by the contractor doing the work for Mass DOT. On June 22nd, there was a grinder pump call at the town of Charlton for the town hall, high-level alarm. It was a cleaning service company was putting large amounts of water down the drain, which overwhelmed the pump. Upon arrival here at the town hall, the high-level alarm had cleared. System was checked and was working properly. On June 30th, there was a grinder pump call at 221 Sunset Drive, which was an old system. It was having intermittent alarms during operation. The system was upgraded. On June 30th, there was a sewer tie inspection on lot number 17B13, Route 31. And for the month of June, there were 19 dig safes marked out. And that completes the report for the treatment plant.
Hey, Keith, quick question.
Yes.
The manholes,
Yes.
did you guys ever take a check at those?
No, we are in the process. We have to get a police detail and go out and open them up.
Okay,
Will be done. Steve had asked me about it today.
okay.
So yes, it will.
We
be
just
done.
wanted, before the contractor kinda hightails out of here, you know,
Absolutely.
make sure they didn't do anything, especially knowing a couple of them were hit or whatever, so.
How much is the police detail gonna cost
For,
to be with you when you check the manhole covers?
we'll have to find out. I don't know.
Okay, and
It's gonna be
who's,
the first police detail that I've had to schedule, so.
and who pays for that, do you know?
We do.
We do.
So, what?
Comes out of ops.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I have one, correction, very minor, but just so it's on the record. The MTA samples was 614 and 618, not 64.
I have 614.
Right, he said 64.
Oh, okay,
So I just wanna make sure that it's out there that that's the correct.
okay.
Thank you.
No,
Mr. Chair?
Yep, go ahead.
Keith, question on the Vines Street pump station.
Yes,
The
sir.
broken handle, was that vandalism, or what do you think happened?
I could not tell you. It's a locked cabinet, so the transfer switches inside. Could be due to age, I'm not
Well,
sure.
it definitely wasn't vandalism.
No. It's internal, it's in the pump station itself. It's actually in a big metal cabinet for a transfer switch.
Right, right. And then scooting down to the Burlingame pump station, those floats, based on how many times we've been there in the last 60 to 75 days, and this, and your report's for June, okay. So, did that seem, because that's a pretty good size pump station there, or at least the tank is, and there was an issue with grease?
Yes,
On the
there was
floats?
grease on the floats, which was preventing the float switch from dropping down to shut it off.
Because I know with Norm and Steve, when we had looked at the amount of flow for that pump station, there's only like, I don't know, no more than a dozen homes.
Yeah, but
And-
if someone's dumping grease down the drain,
Well,
it's gonna affect
right,
it.
the question is, you think that amount of grease is coming from the school?
I could not tell you if it's from a resident or from the school. Could not tell you. All I can do is open up the wet well, and there's grease in the wet well, and you could see it collected on the floats. So I cannot
Well,
determine if it's from the school or if it's from a resident.
Okay, it'd be impossible to determine.
That is
again.
correct.
Again, but being in that pump tank on May 5th, where the pump was pulled out, was the grease noticed then?
I wasn't on site, I could check with the other operator that was there.
Okay, you hear where I'm coming from, again,
Yes, I do.
I can understand after 8, 9, 10 years, maybe there's an accumulation. But if it happened, within weeks, then you gotta scratch your head and say, we need to do a little more investigating of where this could be coming from. Thank you. Also,
Real quick, Rob.
Yeah.
Steve, if you could, it probably wouldn't hurt to verify with the school. They must have some in-floor grease traps in that kitchen. And I believe if somebody's connected to our system, they need to provide us with some documentation of servicing.
yeah. Yeah.
So, it's not a pressing issue, but should be contacted and find out, when the kitchen was serviced.
Keith, one more question. Keith, now that the brewery opened a couple weeks ago or a week ago, have you noticed anything at the plant? Any changes?
Not at this exact moment, no. We do our weekly testing on Wednesdays, so the results will be in for our normal testing
Weekly testings?
for the NPDS permit. And that'll tell us if there's changes coming into the treatment plant.
So he'll
Okay.
know Wednesday from last week.
So
Correct.
that's the testings at the plant?
That is correct.
Okay, we're not doing any testing on site at the brewery right now?
Not at this time. They're supposed to be providing that data and the test results.
Okay.
Quick follow-up question. Have we got anywhere with the procedure?
We had a meeting last week, and I've got some minutes that I will distribute. We have a commitment that the SOP will be done.
Okay.
So we've got some points, some,
And Keith and everybody's everybody's all on the same page?
actually, John Oatley was there.
Oh, John,
so
okay.
Keith was tied up out in the plant.
Not that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
If I can add to your question of Keith, because it'll be in his next month's report, I believe it was Saturday between the hours of 12:30 and 1:30, where the plant normally sees a rate of 170,000 gallons a day. That rate, whatever it divides up to for an hour, the plant was surged where we've got high-level alarms. We were between 600,000 and 800,000 gallons an hour for 1 hour. That's the rate that we were seeing. We have looked at the pump stations. The pump station hours should have showed something at that levels. We found nothing there. The conclusion that we have at the moment is that that flow had to come from a gravity-fed route.
If I may ask,
So, just
what was the weather that day?
dry.
Wow, that's strange.
Yeah.
I was
That's
gonna cover
really
that in
strange.
next month's report. That's
Well,
fine. Yeah,
more, in more
no,
detail, I just,
it was sunny and 80 degrees out, and when I saw Steve Monday, I just couldn't figure it out.
So the only big customer we have will be Masonic Home on Gravity, right?
I mean, he's talking hundreds of thousands. of
well,
gallons.
you got,
The brewery.
It was the
Well,
peaks for that hour.
Brewery
It was
discharges
just-
into gravity, do they not?
they do, but we would have had to see something through
There's also that pump station.
pump station there. The areas would be Masonic Home, because they discharge to North Main and also down to Gravity and Route 20. There is 44, the apartment complex, which is a high user of water, and they discharge down Stafford Street. Carpenter.
You're talking a difference of a 500,000 gallons.
Well,
Exactly.
right,
Yeah.
right. We don't know. I mean, we're open to suggestions. All I know is you asked if there was any,
The brewery's discharge goes through one of our,
Yes, it goes
Pump
through.
stations?
Yes, it does.
Is the one on
Pump
Route
Station
20 there?
5, right on Route 20,
There's
once
a
Worcester
little
Street.
one right on the corner.
what kind of pump station is it, Kevin? Keith?
What kind of pump station?
Yeah, the well mounted or?
I'm sorry?
Pump Station 5.
What kind of pump station? Is it well mounted or is it a slide rail?
It's a dry well pump station.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, so we would have seen a spike in
Right, the hours and the flow would have been up on that
And
pump
plus
station.
too, I mean, the brewer only has, well, they only have a 15,000 gallon tank to
Yep.
one side.
Yep.
I mean, they might have some high flow on the other side, but
That
not,
doesn't make sense.
not to
We
look
asked
at.
them right away, because that
Yeah.
was one of the things that was the suspect we
Correct.
had initially when we saw the volumes come in. And they responded rather quickly and said, no, they weren't even discharging, so.
Any instrumentation error maybe?
No, couldn't find any
Okay.
instrumentation.
So,
So it'll be in next month's report, but there was nothing that we could find. Steve and I had talked, we looked at other trend charts, pump hours at all the stations, and couldn't determine anything.
Do you, I don't know if you did calcs, but do you have an estimation on how many gallons like that would be
about 550 gallons a minute at that rate, you know.
for an hour?
Just doing some math, and, you know, if we're up to 800,000 at that rate per day, based on the time frame that was there, around 550 gallons a minute. It's a lot of fluid.
Do you think there could have been a clog in one of our main lines, and then all of a sudden it released? Because you take a main line and you let it back up, because there's
Pipe
no
doesn't
use.
have enough capacity for a half million gallons.
No, but it's not a half million gallons, because it's 550 gallons a minute for an hour.
Yeah.
So it's 550 times 60.
Yeah.
You know, is it,
30,000 gallons.
yeah, that's what I mean. So it's just a slug of, right?
Basically, that's.
Am
what
I
we-
correct with that, right?
Well, I thought you said it was 800,000 gallons.
The rate, that's the rate
Oh, the
that was
rate. If
If
coming
it was a
in.
daily flow?
So
Daily.
it was a
So
quick
just for an
shot.
hour period.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
But even 33,000 gallons, that's a huge volume for the size of our system, and we don't have a pipe big enough to support that. And what's our biggest sewer main in the gravity?
10-inch, 12-inch
Yeah, it's
tops?
10, there's no
Probably
12s.
10, I think 10 is the
Yeah.
largest.
Eights and
collection
10s.
system.
10-inch coming down the main, come to us.
Yeah. So
That's what I mean, that's a slug of water. I mean,
Well,
that's a, well, I think we should just keep an eye on it, but to me, it sounds kind of instrumentation, maybe, you know?
Okay.
It's just too awkward, so. Especially knowing that it's gravity with no pump stations acting up.
While we're on the plant, wasn't there a time limit when we were supposed to get back to Storts? 45 days, we were supposed to get back to them?
And they were supposed to send us information. We
they're
haven't got,
supposed to get back to us.
we haven't got a
with
thing
information,
from
we
them
haven't
on
heard
information. But
Okay,
yes,
Okay,
45 days happened a week ago.
okay.
Because they're on gravity.
Yes. But they're only at about 6,800 gallons a day.
How much?
About 6,800.
I mean, there's probably some cistern tanks or something like that, but.
There's a swimming pool at Masonic Home, and that empties into the lower one. There's a swimming pool, there's 2 swimming pools at 44 Stafford Street. Just things thinking about, and
Yeah.
they all, every one of them is over 35,000 gallons, but I don't know.
Swimming pool could do it. 20 by 40 swimming pool is almost 40,000 gallons, so.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Started at Tantascwa. Blew the pipes already bought.
One pop?
Yeah. Right into the manhole. They opened, it was a 4-inch
Really?
drain, and they just let it rip, not paying attention. It blew it right off the side of the manhole, clogged everything up. It was fun. Slow and slow. Slow and slow. Okay.
That completes the report for the month.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Questions for Keith?
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, have a good evening.
You too. Thanks, Keith. All right. Chris, next up, man of the hour.
Right on time.
7:30?
Had a schedule, buddy.
7:45. Keith was on time, 7:50.
Right, good evening. Chris McClure. Feels like fall out there today. Not
Okay.
liking that. I guess we deserve a break, right?
Get another one tomorrow, too.
Another one tomorrow. All right, any preference on where we start? Let's go right down the agenda. How's that sound?
Sure.
All right. Okay, so, the last week, we had, the last meeting, we had discussed the status of the water line, so we're all on board with the fact that the actual installation of physical water pipes doesn't look like it's gonna take place until the spring of, all the bidding will be out and be prepared, and then until the spring of 2018. The permit application for the distribution system modification is in with the Mass DEP, so they're reviewing that right now. But again, based upon the timing and what we're looking at and the scheduling for this, I did take the feedback that I got from the commission and presented that to Charlie Tripp with Kleinfelder, so he's like, well, you know, I'll send that back up the command and we'll see what we can do relative to moving things along. McClure has reviewed the mixers and the SCADA component of the expansion. That is one of the items that they are going to advance on, getting mixers in the tanks, and bringing, you know, tying that into SCADA. One of those SCADA stations is gonna be down at the treatment plant. I think, well, I know Steve has met with, actually Woodard and Curran was the consultant working on the SCADA component for Kleinfelder, as they're the ones that work on the SCADA system for Southbridge. So they'd be the ones tying that together. It only makes sense that that does happen. And I believe Steve said one of the issues was that at the plant, you didn't have any more available breakers,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
they have electrical engineers working on expanding that so that basically we can get everything situated, get these mixers installed, and at least that component. We've seen improvements with the mixing within the Southbridge water system, and we'd expect these additional mixers would also continue to, would aid in that mixing of the water system, so. We had talked about the issues with the modeling. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna touch a little bit on the Route 169 pump station design, or the pump station design, in addition to the system pressure issues that Beta has witnessed in the water system, and has created problems with them being able to calibrate their hydraulic model. So I provided you folks with a memo from the June 28th meeting down in Southbridge, where all the technical folks got together and discussed what potentially would be the issue. The commission had approved Beta to go out and do some additional fire flow testing, hydrant testing. One of the tests that was run was a test down on Route 169 by Meadows Woodland Walk. That's the housing development that 16-inch main was brought to. So
Okay.
one of their test results came back and it showed a much more reduced flow in that line than had been seen historically, and did not support what was being proposed by Kleinfelder for the Route 169 pump station. So at that meeting, my recommendation was that Kleinfelder get out to this site and run another flow test to validate that data, which you have done. The test, the flow results did come back, they did that on July 17th, and they are consistent with which was previously tested on the site. So my concern was that they were advancing the design on the Route 169 pump station, and based upon the last test that was done, they might have to go back to the drawing board because it wasn't supported by that most recent full test. So, with that said, that's a sigh of relief. So we have that additional test that was done, that section. And again, I didn't want Beta going out there and testing that because
Yeah.
that was more in line with Kleinfelder validating the pump station design.
Thank you, Chris.
Sure. All right, so, this is the result of Beta going back, and, you know, the discussion that we had in that June 28th meeting, and proposing to do some additional testing, hydrogen flow testing on the water system. Okay? Just to give you an idea of where that, you know, we felt would be the best place to basically validate the data, run those tests again. It's scheduled for 28th, which is Thursday. On Wednesday, Kleinfelder will be going out and putting some pressure transducers out in the system so they can monitor the pressures prior to the hydrogen flow testing being conducted. And then these tests will be run starting about 7 o'clock on, 7 o'clock, let me just check the date. It's gonna happen this week, 7 o'clock on Thursday is the day.
26th, that's Wednesday.
Oh, 26th?
That's what they told me.
Oh, see? There we go, Steve. 26th.
Thank you.
So keep me in check.
Whew. Just checking.
7 o'clock on Wednesday, 26th. Kleinfelder will be in town the morning of the 26th to get the pressure transducers on those hydrants so they can monitor the pressures coming up to the test and then after the test. So that we can correlate both the pressure fluctuations and the flows that we're seeing during the FIFO test.
This one on Maple Street?
Yeah, that one, we do have some comments from Steve Gregoire relative to their, choice. The one on Maple Street's gonna get, it's not gonna be conducted within that loop. That's within the low pressure loop. It doesn't make sense. There's not much value in that test.
But has everything gotten verified as far as bypass positions?
That was Southbridge, that's what Southbridge is working on coming up to this test, yeah, the
Okay.
valves are open. I mean, they're not gonna go through every valve in the system up into that.
No, but at least around the PRVs, that should be done.
Exactly. I had requested that they try and coordinate with Flowrite, who is their, contractor that works or does the maintenance on the PRVs, to be in that PRV pit while they're doing these flow tests, to actually see what,
Their PRVs aren't tied to this gator?
no, they're not in town here.
Because Figure 7's the same situation, is it not?
Figure 7 was actually, they were proposing to do the test in front of the town hall here, and there's a loop that comes down town, you know, Main Street and Town Hall Road. Comes into this area. We didn't think it was appropriate to test within this loop, test it down where the actual water line, the main will be extended from Mugget Hill, the intersection of Mugget Hill and Main Street, so, just makes a little bit more sense. So what you see in that packet is the, field work that's being proposed, it's just 3 pages, email relative to back and forth, from the Southbridge, myself, and, Kleinfelder, Beta, relative to the, comments on their locations. And then lastly was the flow test data that was collected by Kleinfelder on Route 169 in front of Woodland Rock. Okay.
If I may, can we go back to what Alex had mentioned on figure 7? At that figure, right, that house right to the right of the S, we had some real problems there that homeowner brought to our attention
Yes.
as far as swings. In fact, I think you may have even gone over there.
Southbridge had been in there a few times.
Okay.
We had put in they had put in their pressure recorder on, in that area to.
Yeah.
But, and Steve will confirm this, is that the property owner has since said that the pressure issue is resolved, they're not having any issues with it. So,
It's probably a valve close if they open.
yeah, I mean, they went over and did, no one ever really, we never really validated other than the fact that, he was no longer down at Steve's office every other day.
He was down there today, though.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
With pressure issues?
He said intermittently, but they're back. I said, really? So I said I would pass an email along, but I haven't done it.
Is that the
yet, so-
White House on the corner there?
Number 9,
Yeah.
9 Main Street.
Bonham's old house.
9, not
I'm
5.
sorry, it's, number 9, it's not the one on the corner, it's the one up.
Okay.
in that, Yeah. I don't believe the one on the corner connected to
No, I don't think they did.
Connected to water?
the big White House in the corner,
Okay, I thought it was.
political signs and such are.
Number 9 is the one they had the issues with, so
Yeah.
he was in today.
Okay.
This flow test that they have a sketch of,
Yes.
why'd they run it twice? Once off the 2.5, once off the 4.5?
I think that was based upon, Southbridge's request, just wanted to see what you get out of it. I don't know the reason why they did it. I wasn't there when Charles and.
I mean, it's relative to what you're gonna get, so I mean,
Right,
it's pretty standard.
yeah. Kurt had, the fire department was very concerned whether relative to, the round of testing that we had for Beta, because they had information when the walk was done, that that's what way that system was designed for, the Winlow Walk fire suppression system. So, Kurt might have had the fire department might have had some input in that as well.
Well, there's usually always a gross difference between
Yeah,
doing that, which there is. So it's in line with what it should be.
yeah. It's good, like I said, obviously they can advance their pump station design, their pump selections, which were all done based upon that previous testing, and use this to support it rather than something that basically, wouldn't support what they were proposing, and that was the last round, so.
I have a question. Chris, I thought they were gonna try to do this like at midnight.
Typically, Southbridge requires the fire flow testing to happen from 9 o'clock on. They have started to make, whether it's due to their scheduling, but on Wednesday at 7, they don't feel like there's gonna be a big draw there.
Okay, so we're testing fire flow?
Yeah.
What about the hammering?
Well,
I thought that's what we're chasing, the hammering.
it's going to,
But they can't get to the bottom of that until they calibrate the hydraulic model. And the only way you can calibrate it was with accurate fire flows.
yeah.
So that's gonna happen first.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's it's a transient analysis that they call it, and that would basically, those pressure transients, they would be able to start looking at things like that with a model, with a calibrated hydraulic model, so. So yeah, that's basically what we're getting down to, is to say, okay, is this thing acting the way it should be, and if not, what's the reason for it, I mean, that one set that we had, really, it wasn't enough for them to nail this thing down, so.
So what, are they adjusting valves, PRVs? Are they doing anything for the second fire flow test, or are they just,
They are.
I mean, explain this to the average day, every,
So-
layman.
So, they're not certain if this test is, well, if the fluctuations they're seeing are a result, you know, because it could be on the top side or the bottom side of that PRV. That PRV basically is a valve that is made to reduce pressure in the system. It'll do that by opening and closing, whether it's.
It bleeds it off into the other side of the system.
Yeah, so there's a diaphragm in there, and it's kind of like, you know, basically trying to equilibrate that flow or reduce that flow. So if that reverberation is being, if that's because of the PRV, right? But it's really, the PRV in the pressure fluctuations shouldn't really affect the flow in your system. Flow in your system is basically determined by your tank levels and the size of your pipes. So, that's the issue that they're having, is that they're not seeing, that they're seeing actually more flow than what the model is showing in some cases, and less flow than what the model is showing in some cases. So they can't calibrate that to say, okay, you know, where's our issue here, so.
Now, we read too that they're swapping out to some VFD pumps. So, do they not have them now, or?
No, the Mass
Okay.
Ave pump station was, when it was designed 25 years ago or so, that system was designed basically to fill the Hammond Hill Road tank.
Yep.
And
So that in itself could stop 90% of the hammering right there.
What they're seeing, when the pumps, that is true. The way that those pumps operate, they ramp up slow.
Yep.
And then when they've met the condition at the tank, they ramp back down slowly. They're not on and off. Now, in talking about the pressure fluctuation, they see that fluctuation after the pumps, in our discussion, they see that fluctuation at the pump house, right when the pump shut off, maybe for half an hour after that, and then it just dies right out. Whereas the fluctuation we're seeing from the pressure recorders, we're maintaining that throughout, you know, the duration of the night. It's not really
Okay.
going up or going down, so trying to figure out where in fact, you know, that's originating. And what's maintaining that, you know, what is creating that pressure fluctuation? If the pumps aren't on,
Yeah.
and they haven't been on for 12 hours, and we're still seeing, you know, 40, 60 PSI swings, that's not likely due to someone turning, you know, flushing a toilet and turning on and off their sink.
Yep.
You're not getting that type of disruption with a small service flow, and there aren't that many processes within the town, industrial processes, large users, that you're seeing,
Yeah.
you know, somebody turn on a, you know, 6-inch, you know, open a hydrant, let's say, right? Something along those things, and then shutting the thing down, so it's a, you know, again, it's that transient analysis that they're gonna have to make a determination on, so.
Do they know how much flow we're getting, Southbridge?
How much water is being consumed in the town on a day-to-day basis?
And I only throw this out there. Could we, and Alex, maybe you can help me with this. Could we have a leak somewhere? And then when users kick on, brings it below a threshold?
Well, a leak's a leak, a leak's gonna stay leaking.
No, I know, but what I'm saying, you know what I mean? It just brings it down, that volume down. So then when some users kick on, it brings it below that threshold, which, do you follow?
No, because if the tank is down low enough, it's gonna be a drop in pressure, so the high side of the PRV, if that's what's causing, is gonna be low enough, it should pass right through. So a leak wouldn't be doing it. Because a leak would be constant all the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it would be, and a leak of that size would eventually get big enough where you'd start seeing a greater impact. We've had leaks where, you know, our suppliers called us and said, hey, you're 2.5 million gallons over what you normally use.
Well,
And you can see it ramp up to that.
okay. And that's what I was kind of getting at, if there's any way for us, not that I think it's
But you got the MTA sites, and they may be out of line from what normal peak hours would be. And if that's a greater volume that they're overlooking, that could be causing some of this. then you got your peak hours starting probably a little after that.
Right. So basically how, the only way, I mean, their determination for leaks would be, their pump run times, you know, for the pump station, and then their consumption data, that they're calculated on a quarterly basis, Steve? Is that how often they're taking their readings? So ideally, that's the only real way that, you know, and even if the Charlton Mechanic consecutive water system, the only way you're monitoring your unaccounted for water, i.e. leaks, is other than performing leak detection, on a, you know,
Would be a main meter and then representative to all the users,
It's
right?
a-
And
yeah.
you subtract the difference
it's
and
a
call it
mass
a day.
balance equation there, yeah. And
Yeah.
then you pull out your, five flow testing, you pull out your,
Yeah, correct,
you
yeah.
know, your,
Pull out all your
flushing
non-revenue water.
programs,
Yeah.
and then if you have any known leaks, your estimation on those leaks, so.
Correct.
If it was a major leak, they would notice it in the cycle time of the pumps down at the, Mass Ave pump station, and the fact that that tank is dropping. Now, they do have skater on the tank, that's what drives the pumps, okay? So, typically, there's another way that an
You have
operator
a
can see
longer
it.
run time on the tank,
Mm.
in your cycle time, and you never, it takes that much longer to reach your high set points.
Chris, the variations of pressures, these are the data loggers that are recording this?
Yes,
And they record 10 readings per second?
they're actually taking a reading every 10 seconds. The last test they did were a reading every 10 seconds, so they could
Okay.
prolong the,
Memory.
yeah, the memory.
And so how's the duration look when they do it like that?
It's, the swings are there,
The swings are still
they're
there?
there in this, we've monitored this at certain times in a second. You see the swings there, in 10 seconds you see it, it's just, and I think these guys saw the report, they're rapid, you know, it's like, you know, my heart rate when I had, 10 cups of coffee, or cold brew coffee or something. So,
Yeah.
That's, it's just up and down, it's not like we're seeing any, and it's fairly substantial too. You'll watch it when you're doing pressure tests, if you're inside the meter or even at the meter pit, you can see that swing. Now, again, they're not seeing it at the pump station, that's that pump station, they don't see it there, which would make sense,
Right.
but,
And
so. we're hoping
I
this-
know I've asked before.
Yeah.
Has someone physically checked to make sure there's no altitude valve at the tank?
Yes.
They have.
I have made. mention of
Physically.
that. Okay, well, I can't
Answer
verify whether they
correctly.
physically do. I have made that comment on multiple occasions, so,
Because that's another point of failure that regulates pressure within a system.
right.
And it's easy enough to mistake it for a check valve and/or a PRV. They're very similar in structure and, you know, mechanics and how they look.
Well, the fact that, and typically what happens if you're seeing pressure fluctuations in a water system, water hammer, a tank, that atmospheric storage tank, alleviates that by virtue if it's right on the, you know, if it's connected to the water system. In this case, the way the system is designed, Hammond Hill Road tank is about a mile off the main line. It was done to feed the service area and really not designed to feed the system as we know it today. The tank at the top of the hill, here, the Charlton tank, that would obviously work to remediate that issue much better because it's right off a main line, right at the top of the hill. So as that hammer comes through, you just see it as a little ripple on the top of the tank. It gets dissipated within an atmospheric storage tank. In this case, that tank is really not acting as a buffer at all. That's the other thing that, you know, they're saying they don't really feel it's a tank because that tank is so far off the line. It's really not
Okay.
affecting it that much. Probably the pressure that you see there is, you know, within that system and not affected by that tank.
Well, I mean, the tank pressure is minimal anyway.
Right.
I mean, it's next to nothing, it's, you know,
Elevational change is always where we get most of our pressure in this town, so. So I just wanted to get you up to speed on that.
Just real quick, and this is a quick side note, I remember the last time I was on the board, we were hot to try to get that tank going. And the reason why we don't now is for volume. We don't have enough turnover, right?
Yeah, the recommendation with that tank is that once the consumption in town hits 250,000 gallons a day, then the turnover, putting that tank online with the turnover in town, it wouldn't exacerbate the issues with retention in the water system. So really, that's the magic, it's not the magic number, but that's the number that,
Okay.
you know,
And
folks.
we're at about 180, 190,000.
I keep hearing 100,000 gallons per day from the Southbridge Water Department as far as the consumption goes. But I've been, you know, so I really don't know as to how often they're presenting those numbers. I'm not personally reviewing their quarterly.
Do you think our
Consumption numbers.
consumption's gonna climb very quickly once during the ExxonMobil project?
I don't believe it's gonna climb quickly. I mean, if you look at something like, the Treehouse project where they're using 6,000 gallons a day, projects like that obviously have a much larger effect. If they get, you know, if they get 75%
Right.
connection rates, depends on what the connection rates are, right? The fact that you get Masonic Home online, that obviously will increase the consumption.
Because that tank's gonna have to be rechlorinated, and that's a large endeavor of water. And if it could be done through the ExxonMobil project, it would be less costs for the town.
You know, if we were at 180 and you talk Masonic Home, that's another 40, that gives you 220.
Yeah, if you're
And
at
then
200 and maybe, yeah.
Then we'd probably be.
But no one seems to know where we're at, is my point.
We're not evaluating it. I mean, I don't, McClure isn't evaluating it, you know, it's just another set of numbers that.
Okay.
I mean, 'cause it goes back, and I think we've had this discussion in the past. There's an interaction between
There's members of the board that are very concerned about spending town's money. My point being is this, the volume of the tank is approximately 300,000 gallons?
800.
800,000?
785.
785.
Yeah, somewhere in there, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Instead of a
the
680.
chlorination process and the dechlorination process to bring that online is gonna mean bringing that to the overflow, or at least freeboard. Is it not?
Typically, that's, you know, that's the requirement to the
So-
standard, yeah.
That's gonna be a large expense and a large volume of water. That is my point that I'm bringing up. That's all.
There will be a large quantity of water. Now,
So it may be something that would behoove somebody to research what our volume we use currently and what the anticipation is after the construction or during the construction to see if that could get fitted in.
Now, we do have values that we projected, if it was 100% connection rate, if it was 50% connection rate, 75% connection rate, so those numbers could be
Yeah.
put
And
forward.
if no one knows what we're using right now, it's not really relative to what the connection rate is. Right? Because there's nothing really to add to. That's my point.
Right.
That's all.
Good point.
Chris, to Alex's point, I think in those, I believe you have two sets of quarterly water usages. So it'd be a matter of adding up those quarterlies, because it's every customer in Charlton, and then dividing it by either 91 or 92. I believe what's gonna happen is come Wednesday night, you're not gonna have any more answers than we have right now on this hammering. And I think what's gonna have to happen is, because in order to have a firm answer relative to the pump station at Masonic Home, which is a couple $100,000, because if they had a constant pressure, they wouldn't need a pump station. But because if they have varying pressures, they're gonna need a pump station. I think what's gonna end up happening in determining this hammering, is that tank's gonna have to be filled up, and then the test is gonna have to be done with that tank on, with having that buffer in the middle of our system where it was originally designed. Just my prediction.
You remember how much it was the last time? We did it once before. We had it
Clear
running.
We did it twice. It was
before.
$2,500 every time. 3,000?
3 times.
Three times, about $2,500 each time. The guys get in there with suits, they power wash it, spray it down, and fill it up. And more than likely, if they're gonna put a mixer in that other tank in Southbridge, so there'll be 2 mixers.
Yeah.
Because 1 mixer solved the problem up here at the center. 2 mixers might take that water and extend it from 7 days, and it's been now extended to 14 or longer. It might go up to 21 or 28, which means we have a mixer for that tank that maybe it would work. And I think during the summer months with the stations, I'm talking about 5E and 6W, their water rates are a lot higher with people traveling than it is in January and February.
Yeah, I know they do, well, you know, again, I've heard they will hit peaks during their, you know, high usage days of over 100,000, that's just those stations alone, so.
Over 100,000 gallons. Right, there you go.
Now, you know, whether that was, if that, again, that was when Tom Cutler was around, and they have changed out some of their fixtures and such, so, you know, maybe that number even goes to 80,000, but, you know, during peak, that's 80,000 without any other customers. Now, when we talk about the disinfection of that tank, that was physically to have those folks in and spray the inside of that tank down. It wasn't, you weren't getting charged for water.
That's my point.
Yeah, there's a water
It's not
charge.
a matter of
there,
just
so
spraying
that's-
it down.
Yeah,
It's gotta be chlorinated, dechlorinated, and
Right.
sampled.
Yep.
And we're gonna pay for that, somebody's gonna pay for that.
Well, someone's
volume.
gonna pay, and I hear exactly what you're saying, is that if this is worked, or if we massage this, that maybe it's part of startup for that whole system.
I believe if, you could get the daily usage, the consumption numbers from the Southbridge Water Department with just a request. I don't think it's that big of a, it's not big of a deal, because they're billing it every quarter. They do an annual statistical report, which shows how much water they sell on a month-to-month basis. It's a state-required report. Whether they break it out for the town of Charlton customers in that annual statistical report, I'm uncertain of, but I know that through their billing department they do. So you could just get that spreadsheet. Again, I look at hard numbers. This is what I have. It'd be much easier to get that in a spreadsheet, and then you get your values, other than looking through and converting, you know, all my flows into a sheet and then giving you totals for this quarter. I would expect they could do that quarter to quarter. Historically, I don't know.
You know, food for thought, because we had talked prior to your arrival, Jen, I think with Joe, and this was, maybe last fall, we had talked about, you know, getting some joint meetings with Southbridge here to kind of get on the same page with some of the stuff. I feel like it's them, it's us, you know, Chris filters whatever we can in between. You know, there's no cohesion here, there's no joint, there's no nothing. And, you know, we're left here holding the bag, you know? So Alex 100% right on some stuff, and, you know, in that water tank issue, and we have no control over how we're going forward with it. We have no, you know, control over anything, really. We have an operator that really has no obligation to provide any information to us. So I think in a nice way, we should, you know, maybe have a joint meeting or two and talk about some operational stuff to help smooth out this communication gap, you know? So, I think it's imperative moving forward, whether it becomes consecutive or not, you know, there needs to be some better communication. That's how I feel. So, I don't know how the rest of you feel. And I don't know exactly what the solution is, but, anything is better than what we got right now.
I concur, and I think it's a matter of a list of questions we need to go there with, and try to, again, iron things out as far as what we're entitled to, what we're not entitled to, the reports we need from them going forward, and having dates, milestones, of what's needed by what date, and when we are supposed to be receiving our annual payment, things like that.
Yeah, it's just a lot of moving parts, and I think it can easily come together. We just, you know, there's a lot of moving parts. So, you had a question, Chris?
Yeah, I will say that as part of the review, you know, the water system expansion, I don't have any issue getting a hold of these folks and having them interact with me, set up a time, meeting. But relative to the system operation as a whole, I don't delve into that. It's not, you know, but they are receptive to pretty
Absolutely.
much everything and anything that we're talking about and scheduling with the different folks that we have working on the water system expansion. So I think, to your point, it's probably just a request or a sit-down and say, this is what we would like to see, and
Yeah.
is it too onerous for you? And tell us why you wouldn't be there, or maintenance, you should know what's going on.
Yeah, or if they have monies that they want to fix stuff, but they need somebody to approve, it, you know, there's all kinds of issues
Right.
to be talked about, and if nobody's talking about them, nothing's ever gonna get addressed. I mean, who knows, they could have money set aside to fix stuff, but if we never ask for it, you know, you never get it. So, it's just, I don't know,
Next.
not as good as I'd like it, that's for sure, so.
I do know, if I could say this, they switched over their reservoir system the other day. I don't know if they, you know, notified Steve relative to that. And I did see some turbid water and, you know, my faucets, and I made a call just like I would to the water company. But that type of thing might, what I did explain to them is if that was, you know, some of that's gonna eventually get down to Steve and your office. To have that type of information would be helpful, because
To know
obviously,
beforehand,
well, at least the day of.
okay.
You know, so everybody's on the same page relative to, hey.
Yeah, we don't need to
this-
micromanage what's going on, but just keep us in the loop.
What, did you notice a higher turbidity in the water?
Yeah, there was a little bit of, you know, something like I'd expect to see if they were flushing the water system out. I asked them if they're doing any flushing, and they said, no, they actually switched over from Res 4 to Res 5 or vice versa.
They got 5 online?
They got the big one online because the water's colder, and help them keep with the chloramines and the disinfection and that type of thing.
Because let me just throw this out there for an instance. So let's say the PRV is the problem to all this hammering, right?
Right.
And you got a provider that's providing at, say, the bare minimums. And I'm not saying they are, I'm not saying they aren't. Let's say they're providing at the bare minimums. Well, they're gonna do the bare minimums of repairs to that PRV. Whereas if we're all in cahoots, we can give them the money to fix it because we're sick of dealing with, we're the recipients of it, correct? So if there's a little bit of communication, we can all work together and expedite some of these processes, right?
I'm not agreeing with spending more money.
Oh, I'm not either,
I
but,
am agreeing with the communication and solving the problem, and identifying where it belongs. If it's on our side, fine, pay for it and fix it. But we
absolutely.
need to get it done, because it's information that is vital to the new system, of how it's gonna work and what equipment's gonna be needed.
And usage, something as simple as usage on a quarterly basis, you know, just to see where we're at. You've had a lot of customers, sign on, you know, in the past year, let's say.
But if there's no dividing line between us and them, and it's just part of their system, they're not gonna normally separate that out other than billing.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
And they have no other means because there is no meter at the town line, which there should be.
What do they have?
Which, we don't, but
Regardless, there should be.
we don't have any customers between the town line where the pump station's going.
Yeah.
So why we need a meter?
Read the DEP, Rob.
I don't know if that pump station does have a master meter. I haven't been in it, but again, yeah, going back to that pump station 169, they are putting VFDs in as part of their energy, a mass save program, so, that's gonna happen in August. So,
Theirs?
at that mass ave pump station, yeah, so.
It ain't gonna hurt nothing, that's for sure.
No, and actually, the fact that they are advancing that, knowing that there's a new pump station coming online and that potential that was gonna, alleviate some of the issues that have been had in town, then, you know, that goes to show you, they could just say, wow, why would we do that? You put a new pump station in, you guys deal with it. So it goes to the fact that, actually, you know, there's that. They care what's going on, it's just communication gap.
You agree there's a gap, right?
Oh, there's certainly a gap.
Okay.
I mean, there's no question about it. It's only, you know, there's a lot of unknowns that shouldn't really be unknowns if you're working hand in hand with another community.
Do you think, Chris, when we get a superintendent, a lot of this stuff will kind of maybe hopefully get picked up?
I would expect that's gonna be a big component of that individual's job. If one case you're buying water from a community, you're actually, it's just like you going and, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
So that individual would have that to be, and I'm assuming that would be something you'd create in his job description, but yeah, you get to know if there's a water component to his position, how many gallons are you using in a day? Where is your consumption? That's part of a water superintendent. It's more of it's less of a mechanical position nowadays and more of a paper pushing position. It's just, that's what it is now, you know. They do need to understand what's happening in the system and how it goes, but reality is it's more of a paperwork position.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
So did we decide to go forward with a joint meeting, or what,
I can't make it, but I would,
you can't make the motion?
yeah, I don't believe so, right? I thought the chair couldn't make motions. So I would've said it 25 minutes ago. What's that?
Anybody on the board can make a motion,
Oh,
including the chair.
Sorry.
so, perfect.
Mr. McClure got what, how many more things do you have? Because you're running out of time.
I'd like to make that motion. That we set up a joint meeting with Southbridge to discuss things that are going on with McCoy.
I would add maybe 2 members, you know, to just scoot over there. I can gladly, I'm local, it's not very upsetting, for me to go over there. I'll volunteer myself, you know, and anybody else who wants to, but I'd just say a couple meetings, get some informal stuff out of the way and
I'd certainly
report back
wanna
to
be part of
everybody.
that. I'll be part of that.
Depending on when it is, yes.
Yeah, is that good with everybody, or?
So meet with Steve Gregoire and Heather, and whatever we gotta
So
do.
what's the motion?
Make a motion, I think, what,
The motion was to set up a joint meeting with the town of Southbridge to discuss the water situation and have at least 2 members of the Water and Sewer Board involved in that.
second that.
In discussion?
Vote?
So I guess me and Rob, is everybody,
We're
Well,
gonna
I would
vote.
say at least a minimum of 2. If we all wanna go, I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be more than
Correct.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
just be posted if there's 3 or more. so.
yeah.
Seconded,
I second it.
Okay.
yes,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay, moving right along here, Route 169 property status, so purchase sale has been sent along to the owner, and their attorney's reviewing it. And then when it gets back, I'll just make sure it gets back to commission, you guys can make your comments, and that'll get advanced.
Just hold on one second real quick, Chris. So Steve, you can, just to go back on Jen's motion, call, get some times. And then basically, we're gonna ship it back out to us, and then we're all gonna decide whether we wanna go or not, or are we keeping it at 2 people? It wasn't in
Two
the
people
motion.
sounds good, then you don't have to post it, you can have the meeting tomorrow morning. You don't have, again, with posting, you gotta wait 48 hours. And you keep it at 2.
What is it, I just wanna be clear with it, that's all.
I don't feel, you know, if we all wanna go and be involved, then, you know, we should be able to, I mean, a minimum of 2, if you 2 are willing to go, that's great. If I'm able to go, I would love to go,
Mhm.
so I kinda know what's going on, and I'm not getting the information secondhand.
Mhm.
So that's my feeling. I'm not saying I
Yeah,
might,
no.
No, I know, I wanna,
yeah, I agree.
so what I'm getting at is, to Lemansky's point, it could be as soon as Tuesday, Wednesday morning, or it could be, all right, a couple weeks from now, this is a formal date, anybody who can attend, because he's gonna have time to post it and so forth and
You
so
know
on.
you have a quorum, plan the meeting accordingly, that's all.
Well, this is what I'm getting at, it's just,
Don't
Just
plan
what-
it for tomorrow, plan it so
I
it
understand.
meets the criteria.
I understand that, but it's work that Steve has to do, and he needs the guidance on what to do. It's basically what I'm getting at, right, Steve?
Daytime or nighttime?
So, and I know it's already gonna be a daytime, because they're
Okay.
not gonna
That's okay.
come in
That-
after
well, that's-
hours,
That was my point.
so. Can you get a list of some dates, Steve? Maybe this month?
Will do. This month? That's
Well, there's 2 weeks left.
1 week.
What is it? Oh, sorry,
I do the same thing.
sorry.
Try for it.
Whatever you can do, Steve.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Chris, sorry about that.
Yeah, So again, the Route 169 pump station property status, the revisions out to the property owner. We expect comments back from them, and they'll be filtered back into the town once we get those, and keep that moving along. The 169 pump station design, that design is advancing. They had submitted a building permit to try and get a determination on the land there. And Heather is saying, hey, I don't wanna take a look at this until I get, that design, so we can start reviewing that. Obviously, the comments, we had reviewed the aesthetic items relative to the station. They have made those changes, and now it's more of it's more the technical component that they're pulling together. So once that pump station design is done and get out, and that construction could advance, faster than the pipes themselves.
Chris, there's gonna be a need for a zoning special permit.
Right.
Has that been filed?
That has been compiled. The submittal of the building permit was the process that was going to push that into play. Now we just need to go about it in a different angle now.
Because, no, you can't submit it because Heather hasn't approved it?
Typically, you submit a building permit, and then the zoning enforcement officer denies it on the
Correct,
basis.
right.
That's the basis to take it to the ZBA. But the building permit requires sign off from, towns, and so,
Well, Southbridge doesn't need to sign off on a building permit here in Charlton.
Well, the design would go through Heather.
Why?
To my point, exactly.
Well, it's a water system.
But we own all the
Component.
infrastructure.
Right. So, but,
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they've made this point clear to us, that we own everything up to and including leaks. So why would they have any bearing on how or what we build?
well, the IMA dictates that, but
The who? I'm sorry.
the intermunicipal agreement. So,
And to what regards? Aesthetically?
no, not
mechanically.
I mean, when you say the building, the building component deals with the electrical, the plumbing, all of those items. So it may be something that I can talk with the building department about and see if we could get that letter issued to
The
move
denial
that
letter.
process, the denial letter.
In order to go to the ZBA, you need a denial letter.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we need to be, 40 feet off the road and we're 28?
Yeah.
And so is it also side yard that we have a problem?
No, yeah, it's actually a side yard as well, yeah.
Side yard on the Snake Hill side?
Yes,
So worst case is if we need to make the building larger, we could make it wider on the opposite side.
well, we've tilted that side yard back due to the residential well on the property as well,
Right,
so.
but there's no, the only issues as far as relative to the ZBA is front yard and side yard setback.
Right.
Right, so if Heather says, look, I think you're cutting this short, you need to have more space, if in fact we wanna
Oh, I see
adhere
what
to
you're
it,
saying,
we
yeah.
can easily make that.
Sure.
So that's, we're not gonna change the front or the side.
Right.
So that's why we need to get that denial to go forward. Again, I still have the question is, why aren't we doing the Masonic Home line this year? Because I'm sure the ExxonMobil has boiled it down to either 2 or 3 contractors. They need to pick out their favorite, and that'd be great if we'd get that 40,000 gallons, especially if we want to try to fill that tank. And that's a 5-day job to get up the street there.
Yeah, but if the pressure's an issue and they gotta put a pump station, that's,
Exactly, Alex, and that's why I think they're gonna be filling that tank to get the final answer, because it's cheaper to fill the tank than it is to blow 200 grand on a pump station.
Isn't that coming up later in your notes?
Well, the pump station is really just a status where we're at with that, so, there's really not much more to state than Mr. Lemansky just stated, but, they're, they have advanced the location of the pump station, where it would, potentially be if it was built, so that doesn't hold up the process.
Right.
And obviously, they were looking to bring the water line in at different locations. We reviewed it, we wanted the water line extension up Masonic Home Road to extend to at least that first entrance. And I think that was the intent of the commission that spoke about. I've seen different iterations to try and, because of Masonic Home property.
Masonic Home property, and we want to try to get it to the police station as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So, relative to the water line sizing from there to, the extension, right now, as you are aware, was a 12-inch pipe that was stubbed up Masonic Home Road. I don't think that we need to maintain that 12-inch, there's no real reason as far as, development from there to, Route 20, if it was ever extended down all the way down Masonic Home Road to Route 20. I
So
don't
8
think
would be sufficient.
I had them look at what they could drop it down to, eight at the minimum, so maybe they'd save some, volume in that line as well. They are showing a 12-inch line going up out of the pump station to feed Masonic Home, which isn't needed either, which we'll get that change as well, because they're only gonna be able to provide potable water to that site, so. So that takes care of Route 169, overlook Masonic Pump Station, Bay Pass Pump Station. We talked about 232 Stafford Street. We're still waiting to get those final plans done. They are looking to advance that project, this construction season. I don't know where those plans, you haven't seen a final on that, Steve?
No, sir.
Status of water system, construction schedule, so that basically is my first, that first, the majority of, work we talked about in the water system expansion. Relative to the master plan, this information that's gonna be collected this week, in my discussions with Beta is really gonna be the telltale as to them being able to finalize that plan. Sync their hydraulic model and be able to give you, get that model that you could work with there. The update on hydrant flow testing, we talked about, Berry Corner Road, water line project status. Heather was in the process of awarding the design. She hadn't given, she said she was down to 3 finalists, but I haven't, wasn't able to get what their determination was, whether she's made it by today or not. That'll put that water line design in play, basically. Start to go out to do borings, do the survey, and develop the design plans for that road.
Has any consideration been given to the Plan B up there, Commercial Drive,
No,
as far as design goes?
basically, as far as I know, they were just gonna advance on the extension off of the pump station 169 and, and extend off of that way. Whether or not that interconnection over there on Commercial Drive to facilitate water turnover, was advanced or not, I think that's all gonna get worked out in this. Everything that's been talked about to date has been a conceptual design, so, once that designer is in place, then they'll start working through. If you have comments, you'll start seeing that stuff, and you have an opportunity to comment on it when it comes down when it gets, delivered to Steve.
Chris, that water line ain't gonna get held up with this pump station, right?
Yes, yeah, it will get held up. at the
Was
pump
there any
station.
possibility of that water line getting installed this year,
The water line on,
H-Foot Road?
It's not even designed.
Exactly, yeah. Well,
yeah, no,
I'm just
no,
making
no.
sure.
No, it will not happen, no, will not happen
Okay.
this year, no.
So best case scenario, that's spring of next year.
Yes, and I believe, and Robin could probably shed some light on this, is that there is a component that the construction needs to start within a certain schedule once the pump station has been completed. So as far as, Southbridge goes, it's first comes this, then comes this, so I don't have those, that schedule, those scheduled dates off the top of my head. So I'd like to talk about the East Charlton Water System grant. Last meeting, we had a discussion, the commission had, we had a discussion about the Mass Works grant that the CMRPC has agreed to assist in the town with, that would try to give some money pay for the interconnection between the town of Oxford and the town of Charlton along the Route 20 corridor. Okay, so, the commission had approved McClure to do the work, and as long as that, the design work could be, paid for through the grants that you currently have, through the state. I had a discussion with Robin, and she said, give me the proposal, I'll send it through and get it approved. So, this grant needs to be in by August aggressive time frame for us to get that design done. We have initiated it. Basically, we had to provide for preliminary design in addition to
25%, right?
25% in addition to the construction cost estimates, so they can incorporate that into the grant. Okay? So, I have a agreement here, that iterates what we talked about last week. I would like to get that signed, so they can get it to Rob, and I've already had to work on this plan in order to get that done.
Can you see the plan, Chris?
Yeah, I do have a plan, yeah.
Okay.
So I wanna give you, I have some, half sheets. Maybe I didn't print them all out because, I'm sorry.
That's all right, I got it, you got them? Okay. I couldn't do both.
I think we can all sign it. Doesn't matter, just, because nobody acted me to sign it, so we can just all sign it.
All right.
25%,
Yeah.
this one, the other 75%.
Well,
What's that? This is just to get the grant going,
Understand that.
yeah.
like we
They-
approved at the last meeting.
What would happen, Alex, is if that's what you need to submit the application, submit the grant. If the grant was approved, then we'd advance the design.
What's that?
You can pass it down that way and then
Okay.
So I just, again, wanna keep folks in the loop relative to the, what we've developed as estimates, what we've developed for the design, and there's another component that, the grant writer is Andrew Lowell. He's working with, he's told me he's working with Alan Gordon to develop, the other components relative to this MassWorks grants that are required. So the other boxes that need to be checked off. So, we're almost at the point where, we've provided him with as much as he needs. He's gonna start reviewing it, and if he needs anything additional, we're in a good place that, we'll be able to finish this off for him for August 4th. We have spoken with Aquarian Water to get their as-built relative to their west end of their water system. Right now, we're only able to prove that the water system comes from, ends at Pioneer Circle. We believe it's extended a little bit further than that, but we haven't been able to wait for them to get those in order to advance these designs. So we have shown a connection to Pioneer Drive, and that connection goes right to a little bit east of Bay Path Road and Glenmere Road. That's where the 12-inch terminates now for the town of Franklin water system. So we're a little bit under 4,970 feet. First, approximately 1,350 feet up to the Oxbow Road, and then from there, 4,000 feet from Oxbow down to Glenmere. Fairly large contingency in there for traffic control. Depending upon how much the road is allowed to be open during construction. But again, we're including a bunch of contingencies in there, but that's, was basically the recommendation when we were put forth in this task. So if you have any questions in reviewing it, and that's hot off the press. I just got that over to Andrew today.
these typicals come from, Chris?
June 2016 to June 2017, Mass DOT,
Oh, they're MassDOT's typicals?
yeah,
A little antiquated.
their averages for the past year on their projects.
Those?
The design,
Design typicals?
the design typicals. I thought you were meeting my numbers.
No. Plan.
Those are, these are Southbridge Water Department's right from the
Really?
specifications, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they are.
Chris, you can give a copy of those to, Steve, correct?
Yes, yeah, I forwarded over, I CC'd you on the PDF for the full set,
Okay.
and the application for the opinion of probable cost here. And then what I also did was, we backed up our, estimates, with our calculations, just so we're all on the same
Okay.
page when people come back and look at us and say, where did you get your?
And these went out this morning or today?
They went out today, yeah.
Okay.
And Steve, when you get a copy of those, can you just let me know and I'll stop by so I can look at them?
Sure, you can take these.
Oh, you can have that. You sure?
I just made it for Sharon, I didn't think we'd go through them that much.
Oh, no, it's just,
Yeah.
no, oh, that's okay.
Is there's a bridge crossing over there?
There is a great, little river.
What a river.
Little river? Right before Barkwood.
I need a copy.
That's a bridge crossing there?
Yeah, that's a fairly substantial bridge crossing as well. It's pretty high up, under 15 feet or so.
Really? There's a bridge there?
Is that the one on Glenmere?
No.
There's
It's
a bridge
across-
on
Yeah, this goes
There's a
across-
bridge on Glenmere. They just rebuilt that within the past 5 years.
Yeah,
they
that
come-
wooded one.
yeah,
It's
and
just
it
west
comes
of the Barkwood.
across.
I don't know where the Barkwood is.
Yeah.
It's a big kennel on, just over the town line.
Okay.
There's a bridge or like a box culvert or something?
It's a bridge. It's a bridge. It's a 4-lane bridge, 2 lanes either way.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
15 feet high, actually. Okay.
Really?
It's pretty substantial. Well, it's a pretty substantial structure. We've estimated just for that crossing and the hangings and whatnot, it's close to, well, close to $200,000 worth right there.
Okay.
Evaluation of the structure, blah, blah, blah. If they do replace that, which is probably likely in that Route 20 reconfiguration, then again. I think the important thing here is to get this.
Get it going.
Get it
Yep.
going, get the grant in there.
Yep.
Let folks know that Town of Charlton is serious about an interconnection.
Mm-hmm.
Another interconnection with another community is always a good thing, and there are businesses and properties that are affected along Route 20, either through the inability to grow their business because they don't have a drinking water source,
Yep.
or through contamination, so.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chris, if I might, while I'm thinking of it, before you arrived here tonight, we were talking about the building where your office used to be, and the block building on Route 20 as well.
Yes.
And we didn't know if either or both are connected into the sewer line.
His is, 5 is. They are a customer. They are
Okay.
connected. I don't know about the other one.
Yeah, the other building is as well,
They are.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It ends up gravity fed and they
Yes.
connect on the property and then one line goes into the,
I believe they're separate lines because, we had to stake our line, not we, but my landlord had to stake our
Oh.
line, and that's a separate, connection. They actually had I believe there's a structure out front, which is probably a grease trap, because that used to be a pizza joint. And from there, now there's no fixtures in that place, so, when it was last connected or how it was connected, but I was told that there was sewer there.
Number 46, but, and that was earlier before you got here. I haven't found any information, so we're gonna make arrangements to have it digest, so.
Steve, just, if they request it, you know, like if the homeowners, like,
They have requested
Okay.
that in a phone call, so.
yeah, so, you know, we don't go around, you know, if they request it, we'll go do it, see if it's active, but, you know, we don't just go around and,
No, that was.
you know what I'm saying?
They initiated.
Yep, okay.
Okay, we're ready for the next one? The last one is a discussion we had last week relative to consecutive water system and capacity development. So there's been a discussion with the commission. I put together a memo that, that describes, and I think we've talked about it. I know we've talked about it many times about the process that is involved here. Water regulations and chapter 11 of the guidelines and policies for public water systems. And that, basically, in chapter 11, process that takes you through the consecutive, if you were filing for a consecutive water system. I will have you know, as we discussed in the past, this isn't something that happens very often. If the DEP looks at a consecutive water system once, you know, the biggest ones you'd find with MWRA systems, but, you know, it's not something that they see on a day-to-day, month-to-month. It's probably a year-to-year basis. If they have one of these come in once a year or once every 5 years, would be more apt. So relative to section 2204 of the drinking water regulations, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna go through this a little bit so you guys understand. There's a component in order for you to really make the determination and take that first step. This is really what you need to be doing in order to make that decision. It's not really, it's black and white, there's no gray area. Initiate the work, vet all of these things that are required, and then you can make that determination whether it's the right move for, you know, and the right move for the commission or the town or the water system as a whole, okay?
Chris,
So obviously, the proposal, okay.
Can I interrupt for a second? Steve, down at the treatment plant, because of what happened back in, I think it was '07 or '06, our department had received a letter to go forward as a consecutive water system. Have you seen any items down there, written items relative to that? Because DEP had issued an approval letter subject to the 22 items that they usually have.
The subject matter that you're talking to, Rob, I have gone through years ago. How much is there, how little is there, I don't know.
You don't know?
There-
Okay.
There was
All right, that
something there,
seems-
but how much or how
There
little,
was
I
something,
don't know.
okay.
Well,
All right.
going back to what, you know, Mr. Pecos had already kind of redone a lot of this stuff, and, you know, this is secondary information, you know, he's already told us most of the stuff, Chris,
Sure.
that, you know.
Yep.
So again, in order to have the discussion, there's only one way to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
He had, it's,
Technical, managerial, financial.
yeah.
Those are your three components that you can do.
Hold on one second, Chris. Steve, did Kevin leave a list down there with you? Because he already had a lot of that legwork already done. There was a list, he had multiple conversations with DEP in regards to what we needed to do, you know, like Rob said, the 22 item, you know, there was a whole punch list of stuff we needed to do.
I don't recall.
I remember seeing it across his desk a couple times, you know, various
He had a list,
conversations.
he had a
I
list.
believe a
but-
lot of it was in the RFP that went out last year for
Beta?
Beta.
So,
What I'm getting at is,
yeah, and going back to, I think what I talked about last week was, we need to double check that RFP, because if there's other stuff we can start having Beta do. You know, now that things are kinda gonna go a little slower, we need to start going back through that, you know.
RFP was set up for Beta to do the whole thing. The commission chose to select the things that Beta's working on now to do versus
Correct.
what they bid on. Well, it's all there.
So we can have them do anything at any given point. So we need to just go back through and have them do it. Because we already approved the money, we already approved them to do the work.
so that's really where you need to be focusing your attention, if that's, it takes time. It's,
Yeah.
the bottom line is, this is all gonna take time. This, the financial capacity is basically rate studies. And I know you guys have, folks that you're working with in a rate study in the sewer side, whether Beta has the folks that certify those rate studies, or you have an individual now that you're contracting with, you get that person involved, because you need to justify your proposed water rates necessary to, generate sufficient revenue, adequately operate the system, chapter list. The bottom line is, chapter list is a healthy PWS generally has a positive cash flow for the next 5 years, adequate capital finance equipment replacement and an operating cash reserve, a policy requirement that long-term debt will not be utilized to finance current operations, an emergency reserve greater than or equal to the cost of replacing the most expensive piece of equipment in the system. So if you have somebody, the Beta or this other individual doing a rate study on the sewer side that could, you might wanna integrate them in while you're doing it. Discussion I have with you folks, and as a consultant, if I hear things over and over, I'm saying, you don't wanna wait till you're into this too deep, and why didn't we initiate this? Because the only way you're gonna do it is completely vet this out, because it isn't something that happens on a state level very often. And it's happened in the past, whereas they approve the water system go in, and the water system can't substantiate itself, and you've heard this all before. But make sure that all of this is done, and you can present it, and in addition to what you're saying, back in 2007, that was through an Oxford interconnection, I'm assuming. This is through a Southbridge interconnection, I'm assuming. Maybe Rob's saying the framework is all there, it just needs to be brought forth. But that rate study isn't, whether it was done in 2007 or whatnot, you're gonna want something that an accountant or somebody can certify and say, yes, they have the ability to do this with this type of structure in place.
Did we ever get anywhere? I don't know if we can say it publicly, with a rate from the town of Southbridge?
Yep.
For water rate? We did?
Not that I know.
Okay. Can we talk about it publicly or no?
Should we just take their, lowest rate or base rate and then kind of work from there? I mean, rather than just like wait and wait and wait.
So,
It's way too early to talk about the rate. We need to, again, there's so many other things that.
basically what I'm following is, if we got some inclination on financials, then we can go grab that piece back out of Beta, combine it with,
Right.
any other financials, and
Right.
get those ball moving to create an accurate picture.
Mr. McClure is gonna get the volume, numbers from Southbridge of what volume of water is coming to town.
Mhm.
And that's gonna help us with, determining our income.
Hold on, Ms. Craven?
It's my meeting. This was something that I was also going to talk to you about, but since you're here at this point.
That was the
come up.
next question I was gonna ask, if it was coming
Yeah,
up.
because I just have update, I don't have a list of things that I was
Okay.
gonna talk about. So one of the things I was going to talk about with you is around the water rate study. So as Chris said, you have sewer rate study. That person came in and has been in the town hall, going around to different offices to find out what percentage would work on sewer issues. During that conversation I had with him, I asked him about a water rate study. As I've told you the last time I was here, we're about to lose the money, and I'm trying to get the state to let us roll it over. I've had conversations with the state today regarding that 200,000, and they're looking for proposals and what we're gonna do and the work we're gonna do, and they've agreed to rewrite The list that you talked about, what is it that we're supposed to be doing, that list was attached to, the grant. When you sign the grant for the 200,000, when you sign that, there's a list of things to do. That was basically your master plan, and as Alex said, the commission decided to pick and choose on which ones you wanted to do first, instead of just giving the whole thing to one person, which is what I think DEP had anticipated we were gonna do. We were just gonna give it to one company to do the whole thing, and sub it out the pieces that they don't do. So you've got Beta doing a component, so the component that wasn't done, and that still needs to be done, and I believe Kevin had talked about doing it himself, was the water rate study, which would have been to do the components that Chris is doing. Chris was going to do the technical components that would look at what your needs were as far as technical, with the managerial and the financial component he was going to do. So I had a conversation with the person you hired to do your sewer rate study, to ask him if he could do it. I've asked him to give me a proposal to be able to do it and try and include that into the grant and get that approved, so you can do that. I had a meeting with Heather on several different things. One of the things, and Jen, you're right there on what her recommendation was, which was, why don't you just do, because I had told her about the water study. Actually, the person who is doing your sewer study also did Southbridge's water study. So he's also familiar with what their system is and what the components are. So I had a conversation with her saying we were looking at possibly doing a water study, and would she object to the person who did their water study using that money, that information to kind of go over and kind of work it out. Her recommendation was, rather than having them try to come up with something to help us negotiate, to just do it on the base rate. And then if you do it on the base rate, then you would be able to find out where your variable is, and then you would have a negotiating component to be able to go back and say, we can't operate our system on this is why we need this much off. So it would give you somewhat variance without having that known variance, so then you can back into it. It would also help, I think, Southbridge in any kind of, justification on giving the town of Charlton a lesser than the base rate, because then you'd be able to say you're pulling out the maintenance, or you're pulling out certain things, and maybe then we could work on quantifying those pieces. So my recommendation would be that we move forward with the water rate study to give you that component, get it into the grant and approved, so you don't lose that part that you didn't give Beta. And you
I think we
already have a
already-
working relationship with that person.
No, we already gave it to Beta. It just,
No,
No, we
you didn't. You pulled the water study, the rate
All
study,
those
the financials.
hydraulic modeling, everything else is pulled off the table.
no, we approved everything. It was just
No,
at the certain points.
Dave, you didn't. You
You didn't.
only approved a smaller contract.
Yeah.
So it was up to 76,000. I think they now need to do some additional work.
it's
The
just the
grant has
hydraulic modeling.
approved Beta for 85 or 80.
Maybe someone can review the minutes to verify that.
I'm not gonna, what I was under the impression of is that, because, and I remember bringing up the argument, I was nervous of wasting money, you know what I mean, that we might have to do once the system is done. And that's where a lot of my arguments came from originally with ExxonMobil. Now, I was under the impression that we approved the $78,000.
Yeah, that's just some more water modeling. That's not this work.
No, there was like 15 line items in there, and we only chose them to get started on 2 or 3 of them. But we approved them for the whole thing, I believe.
No.
I mean, am I wrong? This is what I was under the impression. So,
I guess you have to
Someone will
look
look
at
up
your
the minutes,
contract
but,
with Beta.
Just the hydraulic modeling.
In mapping and things like that,
No.
they were gonna go over.
Just,
Yep.
just what surrounded the hydraulic modeling.
But, so I can't see us approving $78,000 to do a rubber stamp of what Dewberry already did. Because that's what you're saying, because they already hydraulic modeled the
How
town.
old is that model, Rob?
I don't,
It was the updated model.
It's an updated
what has
model.
changed?
it was for more stuff, I
Obviously
know
something,
it
because
was.
the system's not working right. So,
I
Do
could
you have
have,
an idea when it was,
what's that?
that it was, that,
It would have been January or February. Because I remember finally getting to the point, it was like, it was a great price, it was $78,000, like, what are we BSing about, let's go. And I remember we all came to that point, it's like, okay, let's go for it. And we just chose to have them, I think we were still kind of working on some rates, and we weren't sure if a superintendent was gonna come on board sooner. And I thought we just had them start on the hydraulic modeling, because Exxon and Kleinfelder needed that right out of the gate to keep the design going.
You have all those, contracts.
So, do you, go ahead.
Steve?
Might need you to do a little digging on this.
I've got the award. I'll have to look for the minutes to see what we blessed on and what we approved on.
So if we didn't bless this, can we make a motion to approve it now? And if it's already been approved, then it's just a duplicate motion, so we're not waiting until 2 weeks from now?
Well, it's two different companies.
Right.
I would recommend that you take the motion to go ahead and give it to them now and get that part started, because they can work with Chris on it.
What's the proposal?
It would be for them to.
Have you got one yet?
I can go get it. I don't have it with me. It would be to do your actual water study.
How much was it?
Let me go look. I'll go print it out for you.
I could, yeah, I could have swore Beta had a component in there.
All right,
So-
so we'll table the issue until we have,
I'll go look while Chris is finishing up on that portion.
thank you, Robin.
Mr. Chairman, I think what's key here is that we make sure that we do not jeopardize losing the grant
Correct.
and do whatever we have to do to make sure that.
Robin, just so you, save you a little bit of hassle tonight, we have a meeting next Monday, right?
For rates, water rates, yes, sewer rates, yes.
Get your information together, Steve, get your information together, we'll all be together next Monday. Maybe just forward that proposal over to Steve. We're only talking a matter of 3 or 4 days here. And then we can just confirm, because we can even
He'll be
make,
here. The guy will be here too.
yeah,
Yeah,
and we can make that motion Monday. If Beta's already got it, fine, we'll just, I guess, put it on the agenda if there needs to be. How does that sound? Is that okay?
Sounds fine.
So,
Now, what I was directed to believe was at a workshop. At a workshop, you can't make motions.
we'll make it a meeting.
That's not,
Well, that's what I'm asking,
that's not,
Okay, make it a meeting.
okay?
what's that?
it's just a regular posted,
It will be.
all you're doing is a regular posted meeting. You just wouldn't choose to have the camera, you would have the camera, but it's just a regular meeting.
Okay. Sound good, Steve?
Sure.
You know, maybe you and Norma can trudge through some minutes and hopefully, see if we can find some approvals. Sound good?
Okay.
That's the last on my list. Just wanted to.
I still have on your list one of the items from last meeting that you were gonna do a financial comparison of the two water proposals over at the school loop.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
took that back to the,
To Mr. Tripp.
Mr. Tripp.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to have something, they're gonna vet that. and-
So they're gonna do the analysis.
Well, they have they have basically what they're using for, you know, the design costs, the unit prices and all
sure.
that stuff, so, yeah, I mean, reality, well, basically what I iterated to them was that the school loop, the system as a whole, there's always been an issue relative to, water turnover. And if we have a design down there that has additional pipe installed in the ground, is there something they can do to make it more efficient? Or what is the potential costs, relative to, the blow-off during the summer months?
Yeah, Plan B.
Plan B, right, so,
So what is Plan A, Plan B, if I could, to the school loop?
Plan A is they're just gonna let the water go down Mountain Station Road, hit a PRV, then go to one school, go to the other school,
But they're gonna go down the
And
long
then
driveway,
dive.
right?
and then, but when they get at the junction of Oxford Road and Mugget Hill Road, then a portion of it will then go up Mugget Hill Road and hit another PRV.
What's the need of the PRVs?
Oh, because of the,
I asked Chris, what's the need of the two PRVs?
The PRVs are because of the pressures down in the school area, down at Mugget Hill Road, those pressures are gonna be, up over 150, 140, 150 PSI. So they, down in that lower, basically, two sections in that, we'll call it the school loop, they've isolated to have, PRVs installed.
What's Plan B?
Plan B is a redirection of the water system to basically as a big straw that Masonic Home would suck off of.
direct the flow,
Yeah, direct flow.
like we successfully did down in Charlton City.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
So what we would do what? Go down Mugget Hill, come back through Heritage to the middle school, and then back up to Mugget Hill?
Yeah, there would have to be a configuration. Now, again, there'd have to be a configuration in the,
And this is all within the right of way of the school's driveway, not going through the power line easement?
actually, it would be, yeah, everything is gonna, there's power line easements, we had to cross the easements regardless,
Twice.
twice, yeah.
With it-
twice,
with
yeah.
it- with their plan.
In addition to gas too, so.
Has anybody looked into the permitting with Kinder Morgan and/or the power company?
That's-
And what the lead time is on that permitting process?
Yes.
And what the corrosion is within the realm of either utility to our water main? Because I imagine that gas main is cathodically protected.
Yeah.
And therefore, if the water main's not, anything that's derived, comes off that gas main, is
Yeah.
gonna be picked up by the water main. Am I correct in
They are,
assuming that?
yeah, exactly, yeah.
So has anybody contacted any of those utility owners about any of that?
That's in Kleinfelder's.
Okay.
I
So,
thought the gas lines went the other way. Like, I thought they were on the backsides of each school.
they run, no, they basically run, we have a power line and then you have gas lines running through that, I don't know exactly.
I thought it
where.
came behind the ball
Yeah, Behind the
field.
ball field, you're right.
Yeah,
Craig,
and then it's
behind the ball
further
field.
down
The
closer
gas line is not part of
towards
it.
Partridge Hill, so there's no gas line crossings.
No gas line through there?
I
No,
don't think so.
it goes around the backside of the school.
Oh, down through that?
It's, the schools are kind of
utility.
wedged in between the power lines and the
Yeah.
gas line.
Okay,
But we'll go under the power lines, obviously, but I don't think we'll go over the
You
gas
still
line.
have to worry about straight current
Yeah, no,
and
Yeah.
permitting.
currently they have the designs going right up the driveways.
Yeah.
So the conversation here was, well, we need to ensure, like, what's it gonna cost us if the water goes stagnant, what's the blow-off cost gonna be?
Yep.
And is there an alternate? I don't, I haven't come up, I'd prefer to push that back to Kleinfelder, I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
folks have ideas of the.
It's their design.
so our initial
Right.
thought process was, what we were nervous of is, hey, if you're gonna have these long dead-end runs, all right, well, who's paying for the blow-offs, just like Chris said. So it's like, fine, you wanna put these, long dead-end runs in, pay for the blow-offs for the rest of your life. Cause it ain't fair to us that we don't get any input on the design, and then we have to pay for blow-off water all summer long for the next 50 years. Mr. Lemansky brought up a point of somewhat redirection, keeping the flow going. So we directed Chris to kind of express our opinions and see if something else can come up. Because the long and short of it is, we don't want to pay for blow-off water for the rest of our lives.
It will require manipulation of valves during those off periods and whether they can get those to interface and go out. There's another component there relative to the way that water flows is what, is being brought to our attention is the only one, these redirection of valves, you want to ensure that the water isn't, hitting all sorts of 90s in there because you're gonna get that,
Friction loss on there.
yeah, that transient, issues that we're, potentially, that could be potentially what they're seeing in the water lines as well right now, the way the water line was designed and all of these,
this 90 configuration. Intersections, right, so.
Or the fact you get an area isolated to a low pressure zone in accompanied with that,
Right,
that's been redirected.
yeah.
There'd be no low-pressure zones down there.
That has been vetted, and I did bring that up at the meeting. I said, if anyone thinks that redirection is an issue, then let's pop that valve and move it and get it going that other way to see, while we're there, while everybody's there, what's the big deal for Southbridge opening the valve and shutting the valve and making that change? But the powers that be didn't, the other folks said they don't really feel that, regardless, they should see some more consistency in the hydrant flow testing and what the model shows, even with those configurations in there, so. Yeah, I did bring that to their attention, because it's obviously the way that system is running now. So,
We're gonna be left with the mess. That's the problem, and with no solution, other than throwing water away.
right.
So that's the thought. It can't be done, but at least someone should try.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to the point as to what level of unconventionality do you employ in order to offset the waste, the blow off of that water, so. My stamp's not going on it, and they're focusing on the fact that they wanna build a conventional water system, so if it gets to the point where they can say, hey, or the model can show, hey, this might work better, but it has to be supported in those manners rather than just on a chalkboard. So, but I think we all have to keep open to it, because you don't wanna be wasting that water if you can help it.
Not to rush you, but are you good?
I'm good, yeah.
So, Ms. Crave has been waiting very patiently.
Chris, do you have your signed contract?
It should be,
I gave it to Norma.
Okay.
sorry,
Just send
Robin.
us a copy. Oh, whatever. Thank you.
All set.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Robin, did you need Chris around for anything, or? Okay.
So Chris has covered a lot of the things that I was going to give you an update on, so we can go home early. I like that. No, I'm glad, thank you. The water rate, I went back, the water rate study, I went back and took a look. Because, as you know, I just came back from vacation, I had a couple of weeks off and came back. I've been trying to get as much done as I could, and as you know, I came to you and let you know that we almost lost the money for the grant. And I walked away with the impression of hurry up and try and put as many things, and I think that that was the charge that you gave me, as much as I could get in there and get committed to do that. Your water rate study is actually committed. I can cancel it if you'd want to, because I know the work hasn't begun, but I got the report, and I forwarded it to, because I know this was not in beta, I forwarded it to DEP to see if they'd approve it, and they approved it. So it's up to $19,500. You already have a relationship with the guy, and I believe I had talked to the chairman about it before, and that's why I'm trying to remember, and I have to go back through my emails. So, if you don't want it, that's fine.
If I may, the 19,005 was already approved and committed to the people? Is that what you just said?
It's approved by DEP
Great,
to go
okay.
within the
Okay,
200,000
okay.
grant, the monies you were gonna lose.
Perfect.
And my comment here was, I'm going to try to find and get as much
Okay.
work committed as I could.
Okay.
So you have a water rate study, that was one of the things that was missing. So, I had the conversation with, his name is Doug Gardner.
Yep.
He's the one that will be doing your rate study. So that is to, actually, if you give it back to me, I'll give you a quick go through of what it entails. The technical component still would stay with Chris because he doesn't do the technical pieces. So the objectives of it would be to develop an estimated wholesale water rate based on public information that is available from the town of Southbridge. They'll conduct a water rate study based on 3 different scenarios, and those scenarios would be create the series of rates and charges that will include public-private fire protection, cross-connection, minimum charge, step rates, and other changes for each scenario. The 3 scenarios are to establish a fully staffed water department that purchases wholesale from Southbridge. Charlton performs all other functions, which was that consecutive water system that you've been talking about. The second one is to establish a fully staffed water department that includes the development of a new water source and eliminates all reliance on Southbridge, except as a backup water source. And the third is Southbridge continues to bill and serve all Charlton customers. So if you don't do anything, how is your finances looking once all of this goes online? This rate study will assume that all of the infrastructure that is known to be built, including the school loop in Casella, is built. The reserve accounts, they would review the current status and amounts in the reserve account. They'll make specific recommendations as to reserve amounts and how to adequately fund the accounts without causing rate shock. And they'll recommend a multi-year plan to adequately to fund the reserve account. They'll assist with you in the new position for water and sewer superintendent if you want, as far as the financial data and things like that. Again, it's up to, so we've got that money committed and we didn't lose it. And you didn't lose a water rate study, and it's somebody that you're working with. So I made a copy for you. Now, the other thing that I've taken to DEP was the proposal that you just signed tonight for Chris McClure, and that has also been approved by the state underneath that grant.
The 15,000? Okay. Yep, excellent.
Thank you.
Was that voted on, the 15,000?
The 15,000, yes.
That was voted on tonight?
No, it was voted on last meeting.
Okay.
Contingent upon me finding the money, I think.
So this, so this is just, so I think we still need to, my personal opinion is we need to still wait till Monday. But it's all in place, it's a go, we can make the motion on Monday if we already didn't approve it with Beta.
Can have a conversation with him on Monday.
Exactly, yep.
And you can talk about the approach, and you guys can take over that contract.
But thank you very much for finding that.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, Robin, could you send this to Steve as an email, and then he can distribute it to the commission? Is that possible? Or Steve, take this and...
I was just gonna say, if you give me that, I can.
You got enough things to do, Robin, thank you.
Got that shit to go.
Okay. Regarding, I do want to say something about the land purchase. So I'm just curious now at this point of where the land purchase is, because I know that there's been discussion about trying to submit a building permit, and you have no authority to submit a building permit without having control of the land, or at least a signed PNS that allows you to do things on their behalf. So I have informed Stephen, I did inform Chris, that you really can't be submitting any kind of building permits or anything on behalf of that parcel until you have possession of it. As Chris mentioned, we have 90 days in the ACO that you signed, that we will purchase and own the property. So I'm just checking in to see, is that moving forward? I did see a PNS come through from Chris McClure, and I did forward that to town council, to make sure you've got that, another set of eyes looking at it, just to make sure there's nothing that's been omitted.
I honestly, I thought you were taking it from here on with the purchase and
So I
sale.
gave it back to Mr. Lemansky and Mr. McClure.
Because actually,
Okay.
when it comes to the purchase and sale agreement, I know the town is the buyer. We're represented by counsel. And the sellers, I'm assuming they have an attorney. So that purchase and sale agreement, what's in it and what's not in it, from a legal standpoint, as long as the key elements are in there, which shows the property, it has the map, it also shows and tells what each party is obligated to do. It's really, we have little or nothing to do with it.
I don't know who their attorney is, I've never had any.
I don't know either, but they do have an attorney, and I believe that they've spoken.
Who's spoken?
The town's attorney and their attorney.
Cosgrove has not, as far as I
Then
know.
how is it going back and forth then?
Because I got a copy of it from McClure and then I sent it up to Cosgrove. So he just came back from 3 weeks vacation. So I just need to know the attorney, and if you think that I'm handling it and you want me to handle it, then,
My personal opinion is it's kind of,
It's with the attorney.
you know, this is more of a you and an attorney situate from here on out, you know?
okay.
Does the rest of the
Alright.
board feel the same? I mean, that's how I feel.
Exactly.
I haven't had a conversation with the Stern since, Exxon accepted the 91,000. Mr. Lemansky had gone back to them and had that conversation, so, I wasn't sure what you wanted me to do. So can you just give me direction on what you'd like me to do?
I believe they had the conversation with McClure, and they had a list of items that they wanted to make sure that was in the addendum of the PNS, and those items are being addressed. And those items.
Who is addressing those items?
I have no idea.
Is one of that the
It's
water
between-
services?
Then that's.
Is what?
I just don't want
Yeah, no,
somebody to
absolutely.
think that this is getting
Is one
moved and
of the
nobody's
items a
paying
water
attention
service?
to it.
Yes,
Metered? Right,
yes. I believe it's metered. I don't know how you could do a water service without a meter,
Well, I don't know what their intention is.
without getting
That's
free.
why I'm asking.
There was nothing talked about free water.
I think it's just they want a service. They want their building hooked up, so. However that means.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Mr.
And-
Lemansky,
but
then
if
if
we
you
could-
don't know who the attorney is that is representing them, then
Right,
do you
no.
want me to contact them and find out the attorney and make sure them and
I think they're
Mr.
already working on it.
Attorney Cosgrove?
I think they're already working on it.
I'd like to just make a motion that Robin follow up. I think we can expedite this whole conversation. Just follow up and put the pieces where they lie and get it done, right?
Sure.
Is there any,
I'll second it. You just made the motion.
I don't see why I wouldn't have Mr. Lemansky follow through, since he's kind of seen this all the way through up to this point.
If, Ms. Kravis seems to, has a better handle on dealing with the town side of it, because that's where it is. It's at the legal point of view. The deal's already been put together, the principles are down there, now it's just a matter of the function of doing the PNS. And the whole purpose of filing for the building permit, if we need the Stearns to file for the building permit to make it legal, in order to get a denial, so they can get going on this appeal that they've got to put through the appeals board. Then if we need to expedite it, and I say we need to expedite everything that we do, then we should do it that way. If you're worried about the town applying for the permit, then we'll have the Stearns apply for the permit.
Well, it is true, the town has no authority to
Yep.
apply. I would just make sure with Kurt that
Unless there was
if
agreement in
Stearns-
place between the buyer and the
Correct.
seller.
That actually said that you could act.
They could go forward. So that would be, again, a lot of times those things are put in offer sheet that the owner gives the potential buyer the right to go forward and request permits on their behalf. So,
Did you review the PNS? Is everything that they
No,
requested in there?
that's between the buyer and the seller. In other words, the town and also the Stearns. Because I'm not giving anybody any advice of what they should and shouldn't do. The Stearns had a list, that list, the original list was given to you, I've never seen the list. I was told about the list, that list was given to you as far as the 3 items that they needed.
Thought the list came from you.
Didn't
I'll have
come
to
from
look at my
me,
email.
did not come from me, no,
What they wanted in the
no.
addendum?
What,
That's what we wanted.
Okay.
is there something else that needs to be in it?
The last page, the items on the PDF,
Okay.
as
So
long as
I
that,
sent that email to town council, told him that the two documents have two different versions, and we need to get that ironed out, so. I will have a conversation with McClure then also on, because I believe he drafted it. Okay.
So is that clear enough direction, Robin? Or
Yes,
you want me
sir.
to make a better motion, or?
No, I think that's good enough.
I think
Okay.
we
We
should
need-
just all review it real quick. I mean, I know we're not real estate agents or lawyers, but just so we know what they're entering into. It would not hurt to just read through it a couple times.
I
I
don't
thought.
think we have copies of the PNS.
Steve sent
Yeah,
them
we
to
do, they
us.
sent them all out.
All right, if you can
No,
do
I mean, hard
that-
copies. I know we got,
It's in our email.
If you can
electron-
do that for the next meeting, I can try and get all
do we,
the status and find out if the attorneys are actually working together and finishing it off, and then you can have any
Well-
comments that you have, and I think that's a good idea, that if there's things that you want in there, if you haven't seen them, if this PNS gets signed, then you miss it. Okay, cause you're gonna own this. You're gonna own that property, you're gonna be responsible for maintenance, they're making requests on maintenance, they're making certain requests that you do certain things. You know, we're checking to see with Exxon and Kleinfelder whether or not they'll agree to do some of these things. But when they walk away, some of this will land on you. You will own this piece.
and to build upon Jen's point, do we know, how far along is this PNS? I mean, is this a third copy, first copy? You know what I mean?
I
We real
sent a
close?
copy, to Mr. Lemansky and Mr. McClure, asking them to put in the information that the, homeowner wanted. Mr. McClure put it together. It's come back to me. I've seen it. I just got it today, I think, and realized that there's two different copies, so I'm not sure where that is.
Basically, where I'm going with it is,
My understanding is it has been sent to the Stearns to take a look at. My hope is that it was sent to them in the vein of, it's a draft.
Yep.
Because it didn't come from my office, and Cosgrove Town Council didn't have a chance to look at it.
my point with it, get 90% of it done, ship it back, we'll take a quick review and
Yeah.
move forward.
Okay.
You know, you can handle 90% of the nuts and bolts and, you know.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, just, I was copying on the PNS. Mr. McClure then went to the Stearnses and had a discussion with them, put those items in, and then I believe that it was then supposed to go to their attorney.
Okay.
That was the plan. And then
their
back to
attorney,
town.
our attorney,
Their
or
attorney,
both attorneys?
Or both. It's-
Okay, because our
That's-
town
that's-
attorney hasn't looked at this at all.
He's been away for 3 weeks,
Right.
hasn't
I'm just reminding you.
he? Okay.
So what you emailed us
Is
is,
what we're talking about right now.
okay,
Can we
so,
talk about what's on there publicly?
If you want to. I mean, unless you believe that it's going to harder your negotiations, but I think your negotiations are, I think that's already been done by Mr. Lemansky and Mr. Bertrand.
Because, I mean, some of the things they're requesting, unless some have changed, don't really go in suit, something about some plowing. There was some requirements in there about plowing and
You
maintaining.
should know that language, because you will be obligated to
And
take care of it.
there's no need for that.
There's no need? So there's no need to plow the driveway
For
to
their
access the pump
driveway,
station?
no.
There's no need to?
Open it up for the pump station, why would we plow their property?
Because, again, the plan clearly shows that there's only one driveway to the property.
Okay.
And the driveway is gonna end up being a common driveway. And the very first part of that common driveway is where the pump station is. So what the Stearns are saying is, look, we wanna make sure that in order for us to safely get to our property and for our customers to come and go, we wanna make sure that that is maintained. Very, very easy, simple request on their behalf. And
So what
one-
happens
one
when they
from
sell the
very-
property, when the
One for
business
very
closes?
common sense. When they sell it, it goes to their signs and heirs. That's what happens. It just becomes, again, they have an easement to go over that property.
So
And
basically,
and
it
the
sounds,
town's got, it's only common sense.
it sounds to me like we only have to plow our first 50 or 75 feet.
That's exactly right.
Well, it's not denoted in there, it's a very general statement.
If you look at the plan, it's self-explanatory.
Okay. Okay.
Our,
No, it's, hey, listen, it's good, fair
I will bring
points.
that up to town council so that he
Yeah.
clarifies
Yep.
that it's just to the pump station and that they pick up from their property on.
Exactly.
I think if we haven't looked at it, you definitely need to review it, because there is a lot of stuff that's in there.
Yeah, we're not signing off on it at all.
But in
Robin,
order to talk intelligently, we all need to know what is in there.
absolutely. And we have to bless it before it goes out. So at the end of the day, no matter what, it's coming across that desk for approval, so.
And then you own it. Yep.
Mr. Chair, you have a motion on the floor with a second.
For Robin to move forward?
Yes.
We got a motion on the floor in a second for Robin to move forward to work with the attorneys and the Stearns property. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimous.
Robin, is there anything you need from us at this point right
Thanks,
now
Steve.
to assist you? Okay, thank you.
Water shutoffs, the water rate, I'm glad to hear that you're going to go meet with Southbridge. I will just give you an update on conversations that I've had. So as you know, and I believe you've already been CC'd this, that there were 3 delinquent water rate payers from 2016. 2 of them have, my understanding is, has been shut off. One of them is being offered a pay salary garnish. I haven't heard whether or not that's going forward. But then you have this, which I will like to turn over to you then if you're going to be meeting with Southbridge. Of all of the delinquent water bills from 2017, and you should be sending letters, doing whatever you need to do to collect that, because that will be the one in the following year that they will be deducting monies from you. You have an executive session on your agenda.
Yes.
I have further information I'd like to talk to you about the water rate
Do we have any,
negotiations.
do we have anything else we can close out, so then we can just end with the executive session, or? I mean, we can do the matrix next meeting, or, superintendent?
What I was just gonna tell you about the superintendent is, it was advertised in 4 places. We've received 1 bill, which is signed for tonight, and they've got 3 names.
3 applicants?
Yes.
Okay. When is the cutoff date for that? Did we make one?
Until withdrawn,
Okay. So we choose?
yes. Except in a newspaper. The newspaper is 7 days at a time, sorry.
Okay.
The MWWA and the WWA, those are gonna run till they're pulled.
Generally, we leave an advertisement going for it, depending on the position, if we're putting it in trade magazines or anything like that. I don't know if you've done that.
Those are the trade magazines, the MWW and the
So if they only
and
come out,
the
we
WWA.
may wanna wait until 2 weeks after that magazine comes out.
Before we go, can we just talk real quick about the matrix review? I think we really need to make this a point to discuss it, or at least parts of it, at every single meeting, because it needs to be updated. I mean, this is from February, so I don't know if that's something that the clerk can do with the assistance of Steve and Robin, or how we should proceed on that, but we should definitely be looking at this at least once a month, if not every meeting. Because this is really what our Bible is, the way that I look at it. So I would like to make a motion that this is on every meeting's agenda.
A motion and a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I'd like to, you didn't put it in the motion, but add that the clerk or secretary does do the updates and work with Steve on that. That's a good idea.
So,
I don't know if you wanna amend your motion.
yeah, I amend my motion to put the matrix on the agenda for every week, every meeting, and the clerk will work on updating that and give us an update at each meeting. Sound good?
Get a second again for that?
I'll second.
Get a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 No.
No,
That's fine. We'll put it on the agenda every day.
3-2, go ahead.
So, 3-2, is that what it was?
Yep. So, the only thing I ask is, obviously, be fruitful of what we go over and stuff. If we get a very packed night, it'd be lighter, I'm all for keeping it going and keeping, staying on top of it.
Well, I
Just-
think if it is updated, then it should just be a matter of, it's updated, it gets sent out to us, we review it, and then we just touch briefly on it.
Yep.
It's pretty
I
black
agree.
and white.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you.
New business grinder pumps. One item.
It's in the capital plan. I just want your blessings to buy it.
Didn't you already tell us a couple meetings ago?
That it was approved in the capital plan, but
Okay.
I'm looking to order 10 now. I've got 4 left in the plan. So,
Yeah, didn't you ask us to approve 20 or 40 or whatever they were?
20 for the budget, capital,
Okay,
which has been done,
okay.
but I'm
Can we
Buying
still
10
do
more.
those as capital once they've come off the project? They're still on the project,
Well,
we're still
it's-
replacing them.
it's capital equipment.
So do you need approval to just allocate the money, or do you
No,
need
no,
approval?
I've got the money. I'm
Okay.
just looking for, fine,
Make a
I'll order.
motion, we order
No.
10 new
Okay.
grinder pumps to be in
Yeah.
inventory.
I'll order.
You know what,
Fine.
I just didn't know what
That's
exactly
all.
you needed.
That's
so.
all.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'll second
Aye.
that. Nobody second that.
Aye.
Jen
Jen did.
seconded. Aye.
Okay. Aye.
Passes unanimous.
Make a motion to go into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, C-38, Section 21, Number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body. Read the last sentence, Gabe.
And
The chair
then,
declares.
the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and that the board will reconvene to open session for the purpose of adjourning. Can we have here's the
Second.
motion. Second, we need to do a roll call vote.
Lemansky, aye.
Yeah, you're right.
Bertheum, aye.
Mackenzie, aye.
Convar, aye.
Okay, we're now in executive session. Drew, if you could cancel the.